Well, I can't say I saw that coming. I knew obviously that they were going to do something a little bit different with Arcwade in the remake, but I didn't know they would do something like kill off like the main antagonist, really, like that quickly, especially considering who he is, and what his abilities are. I mean, it's a little bit weird. So I'm wondering if that means that Arcwade is going to kind of take his place as almost like being a villain, because I mean, especially because of how she's acting now. It makes me wonder where they're going with this. I tried not to, I've gone out of my way to try not to spoil myself as to what happens in the Ciel route in the Tsukihime remake. So yeah, a lot of this is pretty new to me. For some reason, I wake up unusually pleasantly. My mind is wide awake from the instant I open my eyes. I usually can't move my hands for a few seconds right after I wake up, no matter how hard I try, but this morning I have no trouble picking my glasses up off the bedside table and restoring my vision to normal. That's weird. Why do I feel like I'm in such good shape this morning? It could be thanks to the fact that I took it easy all day yesterday, or maybe Professor Arak's IV drip really did the trick. Either way, I'm feeling almost too healthy. I've woken up so refreshed that I'm honestly a little nervous. There's a knock at the door. After pausing for 10 seconds, Hisui enters the room with a bow. Pardon the intrusion. Morning, Hisui. Thanks as always. Good morning, Shiki-sama. I see that you're already awake. Only because I slept so well last night. I'll head down to the dining room as soon as I'm done changing. I'm pretty hungry too, so could you tell Kohaku-san to prepare something on the larger side? Understood. I'm sure Nei-san will be overjoyed. Hisui bows and goes to leave the room. The way she does so feels somewhat different from usual, enough so that I suddenly feel compelled to stop her. Hisui, you seem to be in a good mood. Indeed, on account of how well you appear to look. As your caretaker, nothing could be more gratifying. Having answered, Hisui leaves the room. It's possible that as a maid, Hisui considered those words a natural thing to say, but to me, they came as a pleasant surprise. Oh, thanks, I guess. Rubbing my flushed cheeks in embarrassment, I mumble a reply to the empty room. No, I can't just sit here zoning out. It's not every day I feel this good. I've got to get dressed quickly and go enjoy it. I pull myself together and get on with my morning routine. It's Monday. The beginning of the week, perfect for getting a fresh start. Breakfast consists of traditional Japanese food. White rice and miso soup, wilted spinach topped with soy sauce and bonito stock, daikon with squid. The main dish is an assortment of boiled turnips and shrimp, all very easily digested food. Here you are, please enjoy the meal. If that's not enough, just let me know and I'll add on another dish for you, okay? Wow, I have to say, the food has an unexpected radiance despite its unpretentious preparation. Maybe Kohaku-san is actually some culinary maestro who has undergone training at a fancy restaurant. No, please, this is more than enough. I can't wait to dig in. I bring my hands together in thanks and start eating. I ravenously consume the food, as though making up for my lack of appetite up until now. Before I even have a chance to smack my lips, I've demolished the side dishes and hit the bottom of my rice bowl. Oops, sorry, I barely had time to taste the food. Is there any chance I could get seconds? Of course, your veracity is most welcome, in fact. Please hold on one moment, I'll go whip up something else for you. Kohaku-san serves me another bowl of rice, then starts heading back toward the kitchen. I call out to her from behind. Oh, in that case, Do you perhaps have a request? I involuntarily close my mouth just as I'm about to ask for what I want. No, anything's fine. I'll leave it to you, Kohaku-san. Okay, I won't disappoint. If need be, I might have to take just a teeny tiny bit from Akiha-sama's portion though. That feels like it'd have some scary consequences. Kohaku-san disappears into the kitchen in high spirits. She must really be happy about me asking for a second serving. Still, I don't want to be rude to her, but the food feels strangely insufficient. I am hungry, and I do think the food tastes good, But despite that, my appetite sours with each bite. I have this feeling that it's not exactly right, like I'm craving something a little less refined, something fattier, almost junk food. Like raw meat or innards. Wait, what? Okay. So he's turning into a cannibal? Rather than something so intricately prepared, I'm just dying to eat something crude, something reminiscent of life itself. And there's something weird going on with Shiki too. What? Okay. I wonder if it has to do with Roa being killed so early on and being killed in the way he was. If it somehow affected Shiki because of the whole inversion impulse thing. I leave the mansion, thanking Hisui as she sees me off. It's 7:30 a.m. I spent so long eating breakfast that I ended up heading to school at my usual time. It's Monday, the first day of the week. The plaza in front of the station is crowded with businessmen on their commute, and students making their way to school. It's the same as it's always been. Well, one thing is different. There's a sign on the door of the department store that reads, "No entry, closed until further notice." That's the department store. I guess Senpai and the other members of the church cleaned up the place without anyone finding out what happened. That's the store which used to lead to the vampire lair. Now that Vlov's dead, and the catacombs have collapsed, it's just an abandoned building. Right. It's all over, isn't it? Senpai said her objective was to exterminate the vampires. Now that she has, I'm sure she'll disappear from the city. Which means I won't see her again. Never again will I sit around with her and Arihiko in the classroom at lunch, engaged in lively conversation about something unimportant, as we've so often done before. If I'm being honest, I have a lot of regrets. Just thinking about showing up to school and not seeing Senpai there is enough to make me want to turn around and go back home. Still, these banal days are exactly what Senpai fought to protect. Acting so dejected wouldn't be what she'd have wanted. Besides, I can still remember her at least. Even though she said she'd erase my memories, she never did. Maybe she felt bad about it, or maybe it just wasn't worth her time. Not that it makes a difference either way. Even if I can never see her again, at least I can still reminisce about her. I couldn't ask for a better reward for fighting in that battle. These 15 minutes right before homeroom are when the school gates are at their busiest. There's not a single person on the road leading up to the school that isn't a student. And of course, there's no unbelievably beautiful woman perched on the guardrail waiting for someone either. Honestly, she kept on insisting she was a vampire the entire time, but she never acted like it even once. I can feel myself crack a smile. I can't help but feel this way whenever I think about her. I guess it's because she was such an incredible character. There was an innocence in the way that she got happy or angry, and there were times when she was truly terrifying, but she was fundamentally a good person. The time I spent with her was filled with nothing but trouble, but looking back on it, it wasn't all bad. Of course, that's all over now. There are no more vampires. Arcwade and Senpai are both gone. All that remains is the routine, every day. Oh my, good morning, Todo-kun. What? Everyday sight of Senpai. Wait, Senpai? What are you doing here? What am I doing here? I'm a student. If I don't show up to school around this time, I'll be late, right? Okay, true, but I mean, weren't you the one who said that cool line about leaving the city after the vampire had been defeated? Oh, right, I did say something like that. To think you'd remember something like that despite the circumstances, I have to admit that your memory is quite impressive. Your upperclassman is rather proud of you, I say, nonchalantly adjusting my glasses. Then, with a satisfied smile on her face, Senpai really does adjust her glasses, as though this is all a big joke. She's clearly enjoying teasing me. I remember precisely because of the circumstances. I haven't forgotten a single thing you said, actually. I lash out at her, forgetting that we're right in front of the school gates. I'm not entirely sure why I lost my composure this badly. I'm both surprised to run into Senpai here and overjoyed to see her. The combination of those two feelings has caused my brain to malfunction. Anyway, why are you here? Everything's over now. Aren't you supposed to have cleared out already? Oh my, are you suggesting that I'm the sort of upperclassman you don't want to have around? No, of course not. You're obviously the sort of upperclassman I love to have around. Are you messing with me? I feel like I'm the one who's being messed with here. Which is it? Can I be around or not? I'd rather you be consistent about this. Okay, but like I said, the incident's already over, right? Ciel-senpai oohs and ahs as though impressed. She even starts clapping her hands. She's totally just making fun of me. Ugh. Faced with this flagrant display of feigned ignorance, I finally start to calm down. Fine, whatever. Looks like you don't give a crap about me after all. Sorry for bothering you. Oh, when you put it like that, well... I'm sorry, I got a little carried away with teasing you. You were just so flustered that I couldn't help myself. She apologizes sincerely again. So she really was just teasing me earlier. Well, as long as you feel bad about it. Also, would you mind explaining what's going on? I really hate being left out of the loop. Of course, I have a duty to perform after all, and that's part of it. But for now, we should hurry to school. You're not going to be late on my watch. Senpai starts walking toward the school. All the other students that had been milling around by the school gates disappeared while I wasn't paying attention. I spent so long trying to get an answer out of Senpai that there's now only 3 minutes left until homeroom. I'm still not done with her, but she's right. I have to get to class. Trying to calm my racing heart, I follow after Senpai. There's only 1 minute left before homeroom starts. The corridor is completely devoid of students. The only things present in it are the footsteps of 2 people that are on the verge of being late for class, and... Oh, here he comes! Morning, Shiki-kun! Oh god. A smiling Noelle-sensei greets me from the landing. Noelle-sensei? It's actually Senpai who calls out in surprise. I'm still reeling from the shock of running into Senpai earlier, so seeing Noelle-sensei here doesn't elicit much of a reaction from me. Besides, I'd figured that if Senpai is still here, it stands to reason that Noelle-sensei would be too. Wait, isn't this kind of weird? Why is she surprised to see Noelle-sensei? How's your body been holding up? No injuries? Maybe you need me to take your temperature. This woman is so thirsty. What? Noelle-sensei? She entwines her arms around mine and firmly presses her body up against me. She's close, extremely close. I mean, I can even feel the tickle of her breath on the back of my ear. Wait, did she just nibble on my earlobe? What are you doing, Noelle-sensei? Just a little innocent intimacy, can't you tell? Nothing wrong with taking a personal approach to things in the morning. I mean, this is how we've always divvied up the work, right? I handle the explanations and you take care of the fighting. Why don't we keep it that way? Besides, first come, first served, right? Inexperienced little Shiki-kun here barely knows left from right. Who better to show him the ropes than his mature teacher? I swear she stepped straight out of like an actual a hentai game. Like an actual eroge. Keep your stupid thoughts to yourself. This is a school. Also, Tono-kun, you better not be charmed by her. I am. No, I'm not. Not at all. Oh, really? Even though there was that time where our bodies and souls were in perfect unison, and our hearts beat as one? Well, it makes sense that you would have a hard time getting in the mood in a place like this. How silly of me. Our little secret will have to wait until we're all alone, won't it? Noelle-sensei presses herself up against me even harder. There's something terrible lurking behind Ciel-senpai's smile, just before something worse than the incident from 2 days ago can occur. The bell rings, signaling the start of homeroom. What perfect timing. Uh-oh, a teacher can't very well be late for her own homeroom, can she? The boys won't mind, but the girls will definitely start trash-talking me. Noelle-sensei disentangles herself from me and quickly escapes up the stairs. Well then, see you later, Shiki-kun. I'll be waiting for you in the classroom. We could talk more later, after class, around the back of the school. Noelle-sensei disappears in the direction of the second-year classroom on the 3rd floor. As she does, Ciel-senpai starts heading toward the 3rd-year classroom on the 2nd floor. Senpai, wait! What about our chat? I'm sorry, I don't want to be late. We can talk more later, after class, in the tea ceremony room. Her hurried yet nimble footsteps echo down the corridor as she takes off. To sum things up, Noelle-sensei will be waiting for me around the back of the school once classes are over. Ciel-senpai will be waiting for me in the tea ceremony room at the same time. This clear one or the other choice has me trembling in fear. This is one of those catch-22 situations, isn't it? Did we actually make a choice about that? Like, can we actually meet Noelle Sensei behind the school? I mean, man, that's a hard choice, to be honest. I know which choice we have to make, but I know which choice I would rather make. Let's just put it that way. Morning classes are over, and it's time for lunch. Noelle Sensei didn't even look in my direction once all through homeroom, or the lesson afterward. It's like she's silently telling me that if I want to talk to her, it'll have to wait till after school. As a result, I spent all morning in a state of suspense. Sup? Been a few days, Tono-kun. You catch a cold to go with the change of seasons or something? Huh? You're looking... Arihiko tilts his head in confusion. I've known this guy for a long time. It seems like it's only taken him one look to see just how distressed I am about the choice I have to make. Man, even Shiki's stressing out about it. The choice of where to go once classes are over. I think we know what's going to happen if he goes to see Noelle. I'm afraid of what she has in mind. Same as usual, actually. Heck, if anything, I'd say you're looking better than usual. I mean, it's not necessarily a choice you'd be agonizing over. I mean, it's it's like Shiki's like, well, which girl do I want to go with today? I thought you were taking time off for health reasons. That's what I heard from Ciel Senpai at any rate. Oh, right. How could I forget? You called the mansion for me on Thursday. Thanks a lot. You really didn't need to go as far as you did. You owe me, but no problem. Speaking of which, pretty sure I could tell your sister's this incredible beauty just from her voice. So if she's the type of girl I imagine, with long black hair and a meek, frail personality that's practically begging to be protected, then I'm counting on you to introduce her to me, alright? That's funny that he so accurately imagined her physical appearance, just not her personality. What, are you seriously into cliche young girls like that? Of course, little sisters like that are the ultimate fantasy for a high school guy like me who's only got an older sister waiting for him at home. I see. Well, if that's what you're into, I'll invite you over sometime. I'd love nothing more than to watch you try and chat her up. She's almost begging to be protected, so I'm sure she's just your type. Yeah, that's not gonna end well. I kind of want that to happen, to be honest, just to see Akiha's reaction to Arihiko like trying to hit on her. Especially considering, what we know about Akiha from the Far Side route, from her own route. Yeah, I don't think she takes kindly to pretty much any guy hitting on her, except, for Shiki, even though she's not going to admit that. I look lukewarmly at my best friend, who can hardly believe his luck. He can't stay a child forever. This is as good a time as any for his fantasies to come crashing down. Putting that aside. Arihiko, you headed to lunch? Yep. What are you feeling today? Cafeteria or school store? I don't know. Either way, today I feel like I want to eat something really filling. I'll order something calorific at the cafeteria, buy a bunch of curry buns at the school store. Wait, doesn't someone owe me a bento? Does somebody owe him a bento? I don't remember that. I'm wondering if he bought the curry buns, if that has something to do with Ciel, since Ciel is in love with curry. I kind of wonder about this option. I don't think this is an important choice, so let's just go with this. Ah! I've just remembered something. My heroics have earned me a reward. It was a bit of an unreasonable request, and she only agreed to it after the fact, but a promise is a promise. Oh, that's right. I completely forgot about that too. Circumstances aside, if I've got an excuse to meet with Senpai, I'm not going to waste another second. Well then, in that case, never mind, it was an important choice. Sorry, Arihiko. I just remembered I already have plans. Why don't you go get some pasta in the cafeteria or something? Pasta? Why pasta? And so Arihiko must eat by himself. I decide to conveniently forget about our promise to meet in the tea ceremony room after school. I have to strike while the iron's hot. There's a risk this reward will expire if I wait too long. If I want to get a bento from Senpai, then today's the perfect day. I swing by the school store, then make my way to the tea ceremony room. I knock on the door. I can hear the sound of someone inside shuffling toward it. Hello, this is the tea ceremony club. To whom do I owe the pleasure? I can hear Senpai's voice coming from the other side of the door. Tono here. Let's eat lunch together, Senpai. I try to speak as naturally and confidently as I can. But there's no response. Even with a door between us, I can still feel the weight of Senpai's silent treatment. Senpai, come on, lunch. I believe I told you to come after school. I'm not eating with you today. It's just as I feared. She's mad at me for ignoring the fact that she specifically told me to come talk to her once classes were over. But even if she is, I've got some curry buns. Oh, well, that's enough to convince her. Tono-kun, do you really think I'm the kind of person who'd be swayed by some food? Yes. Senpai yells at me through the door. Gah. Crap, my play had backfired. What do I do now? If I force my way in, she'll only get even angrier at me. I guess I'll have to wait until after school after all. Though, since you're here, I suppose I could take you up on the offer. Huh? The door swiftly slides open, revealing Senpai standing behind it. Thinking about it, there's no reason for me to take out my anger on you. Besides, it'd be rude to turn away a visitor who came all this way. I'm not sure what she's so angry about that she needs to take it out on someone, but it looks like I've been given a pass. So does that mean we can eat lunch together? Yes, well, interpret that however you like. If you're so fond of traditional tatami rooms, then please, come on in. Senpai retreats back into the tea ceremony room. I enter as well, following behind her. So, curry is enough to convince her of pretty much anything, huh? Senpai is holding a packed lunch. It isn't homemade, it's one of the club sandwiches they sell at the school store. Wait, Senpai, is that all you're having for lunch? It is. I'm a little short on cash today, so I bought what I could with the little I had. I ended up having to cover some unexpected expenses yesterday, you see. Senpai puts her hands together and starts nervously fidgeting with her fingers. Maybe her fingers are itchy? That said, they're as beautiful as always, not a scratch on them. More importantly, Tono-kun, I'd like to warn you that any talk of vampires will have to wait until after classes are over. Right now, we are simply having lunch, nothing more. Yeah, I know. I just wanted to eat lunch with you. Save the serious stuff for later, right? I sit down on the tatami and open up my lunch. I still have a lot of questions, but I'll just put them out of my mind for now. If it means I can spend lunch break together with Senpai doing nothing in particular, then I'll happily make that trade. Oh my, we appear to have the same meal. Well, I've got some curry buns to go with it today, though I was actually hoping for something else. Something like a homemade bento, for example. Oh, were you now? Homemade, huh? Considering how you live, shouldn't that be easy for you to arrange? I guess so. One of the maids is an outstanding cook, and I'm sure she'd prepare one for me if I asked her to. But what's important to me isn't the taste, it's knowing that it was lovingly prepared as a reward for all my hard work. I steal a glance at her. Senpai is looking away awkwardly. It seems she's realized what I'm hinting at. That was, I just thought you were throwing out arbitrary demands, and it wasn't like it was legally binding or anything, so, I figured it'd be fine if I didn't follow through on it. Wow, mean. You're telling me it didn't matter to you, so you forgot all about it? No, it's not that I forgot about it, it's just that I needed a little more time to make it. Yesterday, I felt like I'd lost my touch, and I know you said that taste isn't the most important factor, but I really do think it's important for food to be delicious. I'm a little stunned. I never thought I'd see Ciel Senpai so frantic. But wait, calm yourself, Shiki. She's saying she needs more time because otherwise she can't make something delicious, which means that even though those hopes and dreams are something I threw out there on a whim. Senpai, did you really try making a bento for me? Yes, I didn't manage to though. I'm terribly sorry for not being able to live up to your expectations. If you want a bento, then I'm afraid you'll have to give me a little more time. But if there's some other way that I can repay you... Some other way? It appears even the almighty Senpai of Soya High has her fault. Now that I think about it, she usually gets lunch at either the cafeteria or the school store. Still, some other way to repay me. In a way, I feel as though it was enough that she remembered that crazy promise at all. Senpai slumps her shoulders dejectedly. This display of vulnerability is so novel. What a shame. I suppose you'll just have to repay me with your body then. Oh god. Then it flips a switch deep inside of me. Huh? Oh, as in physical labor? You're quite pragmatic, aren't you, Tono-kun? Well, at least she is fairly ignorant of the innuendo behind that. But that's great. I should be able to help you out with that, no problem. Let's see, how about tomorrow after school? I can sub in for about 2 hours on any part-time job you have. What an incredibly wholesome mind she has. Or, put another way, just how straight-laced are her values. Anyway, that aside. That's not what I meant. I was talking about something more personally intimate. In one smooth motion, I uncrossed my legs and sidled over to Senpai. Oh, wait, Tono-kun? What are you... What do you mean, what? I can't touch you unless I get a little closer. Alright, I want to get a good look at your shoulders, so let me just get this jacket out of the way, okay? That's something my clerical status won't allow. Hold on, my shoulders? Alright, let's get those glasses off. Hey, what is this serene insanity? Why, this is just how boys are. We simply love to pluck the ornaments off of girls. It's like peeling a boiled egg. The more something sticks out, the more exciting it is to take it off, Senpai. You're clearly just an extremely twisted lech. I reach out for Senpai's glasses. She swiftly backs away from my advancing hand. Only if we do a swap. Give me your glasses in exchange and I'll allow it. Senpai throws out an unexpected condition, as if to hide her embarrassment. My fingers stopped just short of reaching her. For some reason, I had this irresistible urge to toy with Ciel Senpai's glasses, but her words have brought me back to my senses. Thank God this was only a momentary impulse. Yeah, can't really do that. I'm sorry, something came over me. Your reaction was just so adorable, I couldn't help myself. I bow my head by way of an apology and quietly return to my seat on the floor. Adorable, you say? I don't quite get it, but I appreciate that you've returned to your senses. So you're okay with not taking off my glasses? It's a shame, but let's leave that for another time. Besides, I'm not comfortable with taking off my glasses in front of other people either. I think it's a little unfair of me to demand you do something I can't even do myself. I don't really mind it personally. I was just a bit surprised by how sudden it all was. But Tono-kun, is your vision that bad? My eyesight is average. These actually aren't corrective lenses. I've just sworn not to take them off. The long and short of it is that I made a promise with a person who helped me out when I was a kid. Although, that's a promise I ended up breaking because of the events of the past few days. I see. You have your reasons. I won't pry any further. Anyway, you were talking about a personal reward before, and, Senpai nervously glances at my face in a cute manner. I really let myself get carried away. Senpai may be tough, but there's still a line I shouldn't cross when joking around. I'm sorry. Allow me to express my regret once more. At the end of the day, I'm still a high school boy, so I guess I was just being honest about it. But that's absolutely not something I can demand in place of a bento. I'll be sure to keep myself in check going forward, so I hope you'll be able to overlook my actions at least this once. I press my forehead flat against the floor as I apologize profusely. I see. Even I've heard a little bit about the biological urges that adolescent boys have. There's no way that she's never, that she doesn't know anything about this stuff. So I think I understand what you were trying to say, about how you're a beast at heart and all. Sorry, but calling it a biological urge feels a bit extreme, Senpai. Yeah, you're right. Anyway, I understand it was just some fleeting fancy, but why'd you want to do something like that? If you were gonna get aroused, I thought it'd be around Noelle-sensei. What are you saying? It's because you're so attractive, why else? Her reaction is kinda off. It's becoming apparent that she really has no idea just how dangerous her own body is. Listen up, okay? I know what I'm about to say is against the rules, but I just can't help myself, so here goes. Ciel Senpai, you're unbelievably attractive. You also looked incredibly cool back when you were fighting Vlad. It almost feels out of character for Shiki to be this forward with somebody. I don't know. It just feels like if all of a sudden he's like, I'm in love with you, Ciel. Please have sex with me. I looked cool? Yes. You already maxed out that dependability meter down in the underground chamber, but when you put on that armor, your coolness took on a whole other dimension. Seeing you not back down at all, even in the midst of that blizzard, was like looking at the perfect athlete. I was only able to watch from outside, but you were so courageous that I just couldn't tear my eyes away. I can't even believe that you were able to heft that heavy-looking gun, or swing that absurdly giant sword with your slender arms. And as if that wasn't enough, when your armor got broken off, you looked so defenseless that something in my brain just snapped. Thinking back on it, I can hardly believe that such an unfairly amazing girl actually exists. I try to stop myself from getting too worked up as I divulge all these feelings. Just thinking about that frigid battle is enough to make my body temperature rise. It's no exaggeration to say that it actually makes my chest hurt. This kind of reminds me of that confession scene from the Unlimited Blade Works route, where Shiro just kind of blurts out his feelings for Tosaka. And, you know, it's just so random. It's like, you know, yeah, Tosaka, I've always admired you. I thought you were. It wasn't this crazy though. Like, he wasn't like, you know, to the extent that Shiki is to like how Shiki is now, where he's like, oh yeah, you were so great, you were so cool. I just love you so much. It wasn't like that. So I'm kind of surprised by this. I didn't think that Shiki was gonna just come right out and just say all this. Frustratingly, I can't put my finger on exactly why it does though. If I could put that pain in my chest into words, perhaps I could convey my feelings better to Senpai. Anyway, that's all. I hope you've realized just how attractive you really are, Senpai. Well, it's a little much to believe all at once, but if you say so, then I'll give it a 10% chance of being true. Though, the second half of what you said didn't really feel like a compliment. It was. I just couldn't come up with an accurate way of expressing it. Senpai, you're seriously out of this world, the sort of person you'd see in your dreams. Senpai, do you really not get that about yourself? I guess not. I don't really have a lot of confidence in myself. After all, I don't really care about myself that much. Senpai's voice is almost apologetic. Sorry, I'm pretty sure that I just don't like myself. Senpai? But thank you all the same. I didn't realize just how pleasant but also embarrassing it is to be complimented by someone. Senpai flashes me a happy smile, then looks down at the floor and falls silent. I end up not saying anything either. Well, that was just a weird scene. like Shiki was just came right out with it. I was kind of surprised by that. I was like, wow, okay. We're doing this. I wouldn't be surprised if Shiki was about to say something like, I'll rape you right here. Let's do it right now in this tea ceremony room. It's just like the scene from the original visual novel where like that was I don't know, it's just so unintentionally hilarious. You know, he says that to Ciel and Ciel's like, well, that's an intriguing offer, but I'll have to decline. Then, after a few minutes of silence, she suddenly looks back up at me. I'm gonna change the topic, Tono-kun. Sure. There's a sudden tension in the air, so I straighten up and return her gaze. It's clear as day that she's about to bring up something really serious. Are we gonna talk about vampires ahead of schedule? No. Curry bun, please. That's changing the topic too much. Besides, didn't you say you weren't gonna get swayed by some food? I don't see how that has any bearing on the present matter. Tono-kun, don't tell me you intend to go back on your word. Well, I mean, she kinda went back on hers. It seems I underestimated the passion she holds for her favorite food. In fact, it appears she was dead serious about our negotiations regarding the curry buns. Okay. I always intended as much anyway. Here, what's mine is yours for the taking, my lord. I swiftly hand over the curry bun. Senpai lets out a yippee as she gleefully accepts the bun. She's acting just like a child. Now then, why don't I make you some after-meal tea in exchange? Worry not, for I have already surmised you'd rather have black tea than green tea. I'll even throw in some tea cakes as well. Well, as long as Senpai is happy, I have nothing to complain about. If the price of her smile is a single curry bun, that's a deal I'm willing to take. And it's time to meet her again in the tea ceremony room. Oh, well, maybe not yet. Lunch break is over. We never ended up having our in-depth conversation. Ciel Senpai stood firm on her rule that anything serious would have to wait until after school. Senpai said she'd head back to the classroom after cleaning up the tea ceremony room. I'm reluctant to leave, but if I stick around, I'd just get in her way. I'd take a moment to collect myself, and then head back to my classroom. And with that, classes are over. Ciel Senpai or Noelle Sensei. 2 places to be at the same time. I can't keep standing here dithering any longer. I think the choice here is pretty obvious. Although it would be interesting to see what would happen if we actually went to go see Noelle. Come behind the school, Shiki, I'll suck your dick. I think heading to the tea ceremony room to see Ciel Senpai is the right call after all. Yeah, I mean, we are in the Ciel route. Unfortunately, Noelle herself doesn't have a route, so we have to turn her down. Noelle Sensei is a little too relaxed, and she seems to have a habit of dodging questions. Why are the 2 of them still here in this city? Unless I get a definitive answer to that question, I can't go home with peace of mind. Ciel Senpai is waiting for me in the tea ceremony room. It should go without saying, but Noelle Sensei is nowhere to be found. I almost wonder if we'd get some kind of a bad end or something if we try to go look for Noelle. Maybe she wouldn't even be there. We would just find we'd find Yandere Arcwade there and she'd kill us. What? I saw you hanging out with Ciel, Shiki. I'm here for my revenge. Welcome, Tono-kun. You've done well to hold out until classes are over. Senpai greets me with her usual smile. Please, have a seat. This explanation is probably going to take a while, so make yourself comfortable. Prompted by Senpai, I sit down on the tatami floor. I planned on sitting cross-legged, but since Senpai is sitting up straight, I figure I should too. Before I explain, there's something I need to ask you. Why were you down in those catacombs? Please explain what happened to you these past few days. Though Senpai's voice is gentle, it has a forceful quality to it that makes it impossible to oppose. It's a fair question. I still haven't explained to her how exactly I ended up getting involved with vampires. There's just never been a good opportunity for it until now. It's taking the opportunity to make sense of my own memories. I explain everything that's happened so far. Senpai listens to me in complete silence. It's like I might as well be talking to myself. I explain how I happened to cross paths with Arcwade, how there are vampires lurking in the city. I tell her about the massacre at the hotel, and how Arcwade got wounded while trying to protect me. I explain how after that, I ignored Arcwade's plans and went to the department store. And that's why you happened to be down in the catacombs? Still, to think you'd try and go it alone. I know it was wrong. Looking back on it, I don't know what came over me. Why was I so stubborn about it? That just goes to show how pressured you felt to do something about it. So, what happened next? I went back to Arcwade and proposed we work together to defeat Vlav, but she bluntly refused, saying it was pointless and that she didn't want to. Remembering how heartless she was back then kind of irritates me. I see, so she refused. About what you'd expect from a vampire. Which means that you showed up at the scene by yourself, despite my warnings not to. Again, I'm sorry, but it's not like I was trying to ignore your warnings. You're not the one I'm mad at. I was just exasperated at how predictable the true ancestor's behavior was. Though, there's a lot I'd like to say on the matter of your reckless behavior, so be prepared for my eventual questioning on that front. I see. I request you go easy on me then. From there, I saw how the rest of it went down. After you showed up alone to defeat the dead Apostle Vlav, you teamed up with us. It was extremely reckless of you, but you did choose to do what's right as a human being. Huh? No, that's actually not quite right. It isn't? How do I explain this? Arcwade promised to eliminate Vlav as part of our agreement. The only reason I even managed to make it to the site of the collapse is because she carried me there. If I'd been alone, I probably wouldn't have been able to get past the police barricade. After that, she started whining as soon as she spotted Ciel Senpai, and we went our separate ways. But in the end, she protected us. No, protected the entire city. Arquade actually did cooperate with me. She fulfilled the promise we made to defeat Vlav together. Arquade made a promise with a human? Senpai's eyes opened wide in astonishment. Judging by her reaction, it seems like she actually knows Arquade. Senpai, have you two met? Wait, don't tell me you're mutual enemies who are always at each other's throats or something. Yeah, you're pretty much right on the money there. We've met, but never spoken. She's somewhat famous amongst members of the church, after all. The atmosphere has gotten a little tense. Senpai didn't deny the part about them being mutual enemies. I understand what happened now. For the most part, it's as I'd assumed. You teamed up with her to defeat a vampire who was lurking in the city, correct? Yes, it was a crazy chain of events, and one she half threatened me into being a part of. But looking back on it now, I feel like I didn't really have any other choice. Unbelievable. Tono-kun, do you honestly believe what that vampire said? What are you talking about, Senpai? Aren't you basically the same as her? You also kill vampires as part of the church's Senpai lightly puts her finger to my lips. This isn't about me. The real issue here is with you, isn't it? Issue? With me? You don't even realize it yourself. Senpai heaves a sigh and warily slumps her shoulders. Arquade Brunstad is a vampire. She's a different type of vampire to Vlav, but she's still a foreign entity whose mere presence poses a threat to human society. To true ancestors, humans are nothing more than vermin that infest their land. She may have cooperated with you this time because you shared a common goal, but I need you to understand that she is, by her very nature, a disaster far greater than Vlav. I can't accept Senpai's words that easily. She's almost certainly right. It's a cold, hard fact that Arquade is a vampire. But even if she is, I just can't bring myself to think badly of her. Well, I'm sure you understand that without me having to tell you. After all, you've already experienced her inhuman nature firsthand. Her inhuman nature? I mean, you said she threatened you, right? Being stuck on your own with a true ancestor has got to be like standing before the gallows or something. Senpai even offers me her sympathies. I mean, sure, I ended up in plenty of situations that sent chills down my spine, but that's all in the past. Now that Vlav's been defeated, I don't have any reason to get involved with her anymore. That's right. Never again will I have the opportunity to listen to her absurd demands. Sorry, but there's one more thing I need to confirm. Tono-kun, just how much did she tell you? How much did she tell me? Well, just that there was a vampire in the city that preys on humans, and how she came here chasing after it. Meaning she didn't tell you anything about herself, or the enemy she's chasing, am I right? Well, not in any detail at least, so that's how it is. Well, a wise decision really. She herself probably wants to avoid involving any more people in this. Any more people? I'm already plenty involved, thank you very much. So please stop treating me like I'm not. I'm as much a part of this as anyone. Oh, what difference does it make? Vlav's already been defeated, right? Let's move on to something more important. Why are we still here in this city? That's what you want to know, isn't it, Tono-kun? Oh yeah, that's right. Senpai said that they'd be gone as soon as they defeated the vampire. Defeated Vlav. So given that she said that, why is she still around? It's simply that there's still cleanup work to be done. This is something you've been told about, right? How dead apostles drink human blood to create underlings that do their dirty work. Dead apostles rank 3 and above act on their own, even if they lose their sire. They're almost certainly going to continue blending in with the living and attacking humans. That's why even though their sire has been defeated, there's still a ton of work left to do. It takes time to restore a city infected by vampires back to normal. I see. Vlav might be dead, but that doesn't mean his minions got wiped out with him. Senpai still has to go around the city rooting out any remaining vampires. Well, that's how it is. It's a slow, methodical process, so it's just not the sort of thing that can be wrapped up in just a day or two. And besides, I'm a student at this school. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, I'm not leaving the city, even after my work is done. You're not leaving? You mean it? That's right. As long as I don't have any reason to, that is. That is a little bit different from the original game, isn't it? I mean, she pretty much just is going to leave after her job is done. Well, once graduation rolls around, I won't really have a choice though. Phew. I feel the warmth of my happiness radiate throughout my entire body. Senpai is going to stay here. That alone is enough to make the rest of her explanations seem irrelevant. I obviously can't ignore that there are still vampires hanging around, but the thought of being able to keep meeting Senpai fills me with such incredible happiness that it eclipses anything else. Still, I've really got my work cut out for me. I have to go and investigate those catacombs after all. Unfortunately, they've all collapsed now, but there's no denying that they were suspiciously extensive. That's not the sort of thing that could be constructed over the course of only a year or two. Senpai sighs and shrugs her shoulders. She's right. It's almost unreal just how sprawling those underground tunnels were. I still find it hard to believe that something like that existed right here under my own 2 feet. And there was also that central chamber. Just what on earth was that facility built to achieve? Oh, by the way, Senpai, why were you asleep in that underground chamber? Don't tell me you got caught off guard and captured. I would never get caught off guard. I was just acting. That altar was for offering up special sacrifices, so I got caught on purpose and was pretending to be asleep while I waited for night to fall and the sire to show up. But instead I showed up and got in the way, right? I feel somewhat ashamed, reflecting on my actions. You sure did. It honestly took me completely by surprise. Please promise me you'll never do something like that ever again. You need to prioritize your own life, something you must protect, over that of a stranger, whose life you only might be able to save. Do you understand, Tono-kun? I hang my head in shame and nod in response to her stern scolding. There must have really been something wrong with me back then. Well, I guess I am a little short on blood even at the best of times, so maybe when I end up in a stressful situation like that, there's just not enough of it making it to my brain. Still, what an awful thing to do. Why in the world did she tell you where that dead apostle was sleeping, I wonder? Wait, and that's not all. She even made you fight Vlad face to face. One can only assume she wanted to get you killed. Come again? I look up at this odd remark to find Senpai staring off into the distance, positively fuming with anger. Why has she suddenly lost her cool like this? What I'm saying is that it might have turned out fine since the two of us took him out, but she essentially thought you should go fight on your own since you have a conceptual weapon capable of slaying an ancestor. As a result, she put you in a really dangerous situation. It makes me so mad that I almost wish I'd given her a piece of my mind right then and there. And that goes for you too, Tono-kun. It's all well and good that you have a weapon capable of taking out vampires, but what on earth makes you think you stand a chance against them as an ordinary person? Don't tell me she blackmailed you into it or something. Oh, no, she didn't, but my position is getting weaker by the second. I don't think it would fly if I said that I did it out of a feeling of responsibility for having killed her. Besides, I don't have the courage to own up to that murder to Senpai anyway. Hey, are you listening, Tono-kun? Please don't go spacing out on me while I'm talking to you. Yeah, I'm listening. But step back a second, Senpai. What do you mean by a weapon capable of taking out vampires? I don't like the direction this conversation is going, so I hastily try and change the topic. What do I mean? I'm talking about that knife of yours. Wow, I threw that question out there in sheer desperation, but it seems like I've managed to buy myself a new lease on life. Are you saying my knife is a weapon capable of taking out vampires? I am, but... Right, of course she wouldn't tell you. That would go against her own interests after all. So here's the deal. Bloodsuckers are beings that can automatically restore themselves whenever they sustain an injury. How well they can do so varies, but this is an attribute that all species of vampires, all dead apostles possess, without exception. As such, you can't completely kill a vampire by ordinary external means, with conventional weaponry. Maybe you'd have a chance if you brought some serious firepower, but definitely not with the knife you were using. Not unless it had some kind of special power anyway. Special power, huh? Indeed, in order to eradicate a bloodsucker, you either need to attack them faster than they can restore themselves, or make use of some factor that sidesteps their restorative powers altogether. The Hex of Restoration. It doesn't work by healing their wounds, but by rewinding time to restore their damaged parts to how they used to be. Arcana that can invalidate this hex are referred to as conceptual weapons. Conceptual. So does that mean it's like using a set of rules as a weapon? Yes, that's exactly right. Well done. To put it in layman's terms, it'd be a magical weapon. We don't really use these against vampires who were originally human, since there are other effective ways of dealing with them. Instead, we save them for when we need to dispatch bloodsuckers who were never human to begin with. They're a trump card, if you will. I think your knife is one such instrument. If I had to guess, I'd wager that it's some anti-dead apostle weapon that the true ancestor brought with her, right? No, it's actually a knife I brought to the table myself. It's a keepsake from my father of a sort. Oh, so I had the wrong idea. You're saying it's a Tono family heirloom, right? Families with long histories do sometimes have talismans like that which are handed down through the generations. Old Japanese lineages can trace their roots all the way back to the ancient times, after all. Huh? That doesn't make any sense, though. I'd have thought that if the Tono family possessed any ritual implements like that, they'd be the sort used to strengthen the mystical, not eradicate them. Senpai continues muttering to herself. It seems she doesn't know anything about my eyes. The lines of death here would just complicate things, so I'll just keep quiet about them for now. And besides, Senpai, you know about my family? Well, only a little, just that the Tono family goes back a long way. I am a member of the church, remember? I've done my homework. It's surprisingly common for the wealthy to hold on to such implements without knowing they actually hold special powers. You said it was a keepsake from your father, right? That makes it pretty likely it's a high-grade item like that. I'll let her believe that for now. Still, it'd be nice if that really were the case. When I received this knife, I remember thinking that it was an awful keepsake. If it were actually something special, I'd have been able to think of it as something that connected me with my father. Ahem. We've gotten a little off topic. Alright, that's all I had. What about you? Anything out of the ordinary about your body recently? Me? Well, it should come as no surprise that I'm still sore all over, but that's about it. Though, there's something a bit odd about the shoulder injury I got from Vlav. I mean, it was a seriously deep wound, but it's already healed somehow. Oh, that was me. I'm sorry, I healed you without asking first. Does that bother you? Of course not. It makes me very happy. Please do it again next time. Sure, there probably won't be a next time, but I appreciate you saying that. I'm the one who should be appreciative here. Senpai didn't just heal my injuries, she also kept an eye out for me afterward as well. When she tells me there won't be a next time, it finally hits home. The vampires are gone, yet Senpai remains. I no longer have anything to do with vampires. Seems our chat is over then. You can leave the rest to us. Please just go back to your usual life, Tono-kun. Sure. I'll just think of it as a bad dream I once had. Plus, knowing you're here for me is enough to set my mind at ease. Oh, but once everything is over, I'll erase your memories. You could say that everything is over now, so does that mean... Senpai. Yes? What is it, Tono-kun? You and the rest of the church try and keep the vampires a secret, right? So, are you going to erase my memories after all? Oh my. Do you want me to erase them, Tono-kun? Why would I ever want that? Don't erase them. I implore you. I would hate to forget Senpai like this. I'd do anything to keep these memories, starting with prostrating myself on the tatami and earnestly begging her for mercy. And then, I'm not going to erase them, or rather, I can't erase them. It's pointless once I have to erase a whole day, honestly. This conversation alone has really driven home that you're a trustworthy person. I'm not going to risk erasing your memories. Plus, I'm the one with a favor to ask here. I humbly ask that you don't tell anyone else about Vlav, and that you don't pry too deeply into matters regarding myself or Noelle-sensei. Also, and this is most important of all, please don't ever do something so dangerous again. Finishing her appeal, Senpai bows her head to me. Her bow is far more sincere than the pleading I had attempted earlier. So, you're telling me not to get involved with vampires again? Is that it? Yes. I mean, you don't like scary things, do you, Tono-kun? Yeah, you're not wrong, but if I were to come across one of the remaining vampires attacking someone, I don't think I'd be able to just turn and walk away. No, I'll do my best. I'm not going to involve myself of my own accord. Senpai says splendid, smiles, and stands up. It appears our chat has come to an end. She slides open the door of the room and urges me outside, almost as if releasing me from the nightmare of the past few days. Right. See you tomorrow then, Senpai. Yes, I'll see you tomorrow, at school. You can rest easy. I'll make sure to protect your peaceful life. Ciel Senpai proudly puffs out her chest. Seeing that smile again confirms something for me. I like Ciel Senpai, so I may be biased, but I simply can't help but be happy when I see that smile of hers. I still have plenty of things I want to ask her about, and there's a lot I want to know, but just understanding that fact is enough for me right now. Something tells me she's gonna just disappear by tomorrow, like she's gonna be gone. And this is supposed to be almost like our last conversation with her. The sun has almost set. I haven't lost a single thing. I spent all day thinking of Senpai, and she's rewarded me by capping it off with the smile I'd been so eager to see. Just wondering, but what would happen if I did tell someone about your secret? Well, it would be exactly what you're imagining, of course. The sort of thing that'd make you develop a whole new fear of pain. Senpai delivers this terrifying reply with a smile on her face. Note to self, do not breathe a word to anyone about the fact that Senpai is an executor. If you do, I'll fucking kill you, Tono. I'm on my way back home. I don't have any reason to stick around at school any longer, and I don't have anything to do in town either. Today's the day I finally return to the mansion at a reasonable hour, and don't end up causing any anxiety for Akiha. Huh? I'm home, Hisui. Welcome back, Shiki-sama. Hisui is standing in front of the mansion entrance. Her timing is too perfect for this to be a coincidence. Hold on, you weren't waiting here for me to get back, were you? I was. It is a maid's duty to greet their master upon arrival. Hisui replies without batting an eyelid, as if this were the most normal thing in the world. I mean, I appreciate you greeting me when I get home, but you don't need to go to the trouble of waiting for me outside. I don't really get back at a fixed time, so it's okay to just greet me whenever you notice I'm here. Hisui's expression clouds over slightly. I've just had a thought. Is it possible that Hisui stood out here waiting for me to come home on Friday and Saturday too? Oh god. She probably did. As you wish. From tomorrow onward, I will await your return in the lobby. Hisui lowers her head in a slight bow, then opens the front door. Sorry. Thanks, Hisui. I feel another pang of remorse about my behavior these past couple of days. Thanking her for her concern, I make my way through the front door of the mansion with the sun still in the sky. Allow me to relieve you of your baggage, Shiki-sama. Please go ahead and relax in the living room. No, I think I'll head straight to my room. I'll come back down to the living room once I've changed. Where are Kohaku-san and Akiha? Nei-san is in the kitchen preparing dinner. Akiha-sama just contacted me to say that she will return in about 30 minutes. Gotcha. See you in 30 then. You've been waiting for me outside this whole time, Hisui. You should get some rest as well, and that's an order from your master. Very well. I shall gratefully accept your kind offer. I will come by to fetch you later, so please rest well until then. Hisui bows, and then disappears into the corridor leading toward the west wing. Her room is that way, so that's probably where she's headed to take a rest. Alright, guess I'll go put my feet up for a bit too. I walk up the stairs in the lobby. I enjoy the sight of the gorgeous chandeliers out of the corner of my eye as I head toward my room on the second floor of the west wing. Whoa, fuck. It's almost like a jump scare, dude. Holy shit. What are you doing here? Oh, welcome home. What? On my bed, swinging its legs back and forth, sits an even bigger surprise than running into Ciel Senpai this morning. What? Aw, Shiki, you don't have to be so surprised. Are you really that happy about seeing me again? You little... The sheer upbeat audacity of her statement is enough to kick my brain back into gear. I close and lock the door as fast as I can, dump my bag on the floor, and make a furious beeline toward the bed. Just how many times are you going to surprise me before you're satisfied? And what the hell are you doing out and about before the sun has set? Whoa! Gotcha! Yeah, this is way more exciting in person than it was in my imagination. Wait, let me go. What's even going on in that head of yours? I didn't even have time to protest. As soon as I got close to her, this dumbass grabbed my arm and dragged me onto the bed. I don't like where this is going at all. What? Well, what else but you, Shiki? That's why I'm here. Is that weird? I thought that's how humans did it. No, it's weird, alright. And besides, she was thinking about me? That's pretty strange in and of itself. Anyway, get off me. How am I supposed to explain this if anyone sees us? Hey, don't wrap your arms around me. You're too close, too close. She isn't backing off at all. On the contrary, she's pressed herself right up against me. It takes both hands for me to extricate myself from Arcade and get away from the bed. Jeez, you're as rough as ever. The great cat atop my bed purrs sweetly before sighing and standing up. It's been a whole day. How have you been, Shiki? This is neither dream nor illusion. That peerless figure, whose presence alone is enough to enchant those around her, is undoubtedly Arcade. You! I really do have a laundry list of complaints I want to lodge with her, but the words just won't come. Appalled as I am to admit it, it seems I'm actually unbelievably happy to meet her again. No, I'm not going to be led astray. I've already had enough of this. What are you doing here, Arcade? Vlov's been defeated. You don't have any more business with me, right? Right. I was just in a good mood, so I figured I'd stop by and suck your blood. What? Suck my blood? What did you just say? Just kidding. It was a joke, I promise. I just wanted to see the look of shock on your face, that's all. She laughs, clearly enjoying herself. Arcade surveys the interior of my room with great interest. She walks around it with the grace of a model. It's almost as if she's the real owner of this room. Hold on, please, just hold on a second. I can barely keep up. Did you seriously come all the way here only to mess with me? If she did, I really want to know what kind of vampire has that sort of free time. Yeah, I'd say half of why I'm here is just to see you. I caught a whiff of your scent while I was out doing something else, so I abandoned that errand and came over here instead. Well, so much for whatever errand she was supposed to be running. I can't say I don't empathize with being left high and dry as a result of Her Majesty's whims. That aside. Hey, weren't you supposed to leave after the enemy was defeated? No. Actually, please leave right now, from my house, before Akiha finds you. Oh my. So no interest in the other, more serious half of why I'm here then? Aren't you a little curious why I'm still here, given that I was supposed to leave after the enemy was defeated? I am a little curious. She's not the sort of person to hang around the city on a whim. She may seem like a free spirit, but she's actually an exemplar of logic and reason. If Arcade is still here, then that must mean there are still vampires left to defeat. Then, are you also sticking around to clean up what remains of Vlov's offspring? Yep, I'm here to deal with the petty dead apostles that remain. Not that it has much to do with Vlov, though. It doesn't have anything to do with Vlov? Just as I'm about to ask what that's supposed to mean. Shiki-sama, I heard a noise. Is something the matter? Hisui shows up. She must have heard the two of us talking. This is bad. Worse than Vlov. Please, for God's sake, leave now. Jump away in one big leap, just like you did before on that night, without being seen by anyone. What? Is this someone who lives here? Perfect timing. You think I should go say hi? Idiot! That's exactly what'll get us killed! Mostly me, by Akiha. Shiki-sama? You'll have to excuse me, but may I open the door? You may not. Wait a second. I'm still in the middle of changing. Arcade, please, I beg of you, just leave. I'll make it up to you later, okay? Okay. In that case, can you meet up with me in the park south of the station at 10 o'clock tonight? I will, so hurry up. Negotiation complete. Thanks, I'll be waiting, Shiki. Oh. Considerately thanking me for my acquiescence, Arcade saunters over to the window. But watch out. This mansion's bad news. The water here is turbid. What's that supposed to mean? She must have come in through the window as well. With that word of warning, the vampire in white takes flight like a beautiful bird. Yeah, I'm very curious now to where this is going with Arcwade. There's no way she's still here just to clean up some like small fry vampires. Dinner goes by without incident. Akiha came home a little before 7 o'clock in uncharacteristically high spirits, and after dinner, we retired to the living room to enjoy some tea. 2 hours remained before my promised appointment with Arcwade. I've got butterflies in my stomach just thinking about it, but sitting here fretting isn't going to accomplish anything. I'll sneak out of here once everyone's gone to bed, so for the time being, I should just act casual and try not to rouse any suspicions. I believe he'd appreciate Darjeeling more if it were the first picking rather than the second. Both the taste and aroma are more subdued, and it doesn't linger as much on the tongue. As you say, the first flush might be more to Nissan's taste, but while I do prefer the second flush myself, I suppose it doesn't hurt to cater to his palate once in a while. Though if we were to select a tea based on his preferences, perhaps we ought to select a green tea instead. If Nissan and Kohaku are the green tea enthusiasts, I suppose Hisui and I represent the black tea contingent. Not necessarily. Hisui-chan doesn't have any particular preferences when it comes to tea. She might appear fussy, but contrary to expectations, she's a rather... Nissan. Steadfast maid with no particular preferences, as you can plainly see. I mean, there's nothing she can't do, be it cleaning, sewing, or just about anything else, Shiki-san. Kohaku-san suddenly addresses me, even though I haven't been a part of the conversation so far. I thought you were discussing black tea. Why are you talking to me about Hisui all of a sudden? Because you spend so much time together with her, of course. You've picked up on Hisui-chan's fuzziness too, haven't you? No, that's... I sneak a glance at Hisui out of the corner of my eye, and notice she's looking somewhat nervous. I feel like fussy is the wrong word. Being meticulous in your work isn't the same as being fussy, now is it? I mean, whenever I mess something up, she immediately takes care of it for me. And when I'm feeling under the weather but haven't picked up on it yet, she points it out for me. On top of that, she doesn't get mad at me when I come home late in the evening, unlike a certain somebody. I think you'd call that conscientious and kind, if anything. Nissan, I believe it is only fitting for students who violate their curfew to be reprimanded for it. Am I mistaken? You're right, of course. That said, surely even you can agree that 8 o'clock is way too early? I'm not a kid, so why don't we take this opportunity to push that time back to at least 10 o'clock? Out of the question. You have no business being out that late, do you, Nissan? It's not as if you have any lessons to attend or club activities to participate in. When she puts it like that, there's not much room for a rebuttal. If someone with as few commitments as myself isn't returning home early, there isn't much they could be off doing other than fooling around. Of course, adhering to the curfew isn't the only thing I expect of you. I'm pleased that you've reflected on your self-indulgent behavior to date and returned home early, but I'm still apprehensive about what you might do in the future. It seems as though your mind has been elsewhere ever since dinner. Is something the matter? Do you, for example, have any plans after this? I'm this close to breaking eye contact with her, but stopped myself at the last moment. How is Akiha so damn perceptive? She hit me with these allegations right at this crucial juncture too. Ordinarily, I'd have folded like a house of cards. However, I've been through a lot. I fought with a vampire, was reunited with Ciel senpai this morning, and even survived Arcwade's ambush. I don't have any weak spots anymore. I was just planning on having a bath after this. Why? Do you want to go first? Fine by me, I guess. Oh, that reminds me. This place has 2 bathtubs, doesn't it? You used the one in the east wing, right? Yes, but what of it? The bath in the east wing is so nice and big, right? I feel like it'd be nice to switch it up and use that one once in a while. If you wish to, please inform Hisui beforehand. She can adjust the schedule and ensure the bath is turned over for your use. Alright, perfect turnabout. Akiha awkwardly breaks eye contact in the face of my downright flagrantly calm composure. Oh, right. The talk about bathing just reminded me. Is the plumbing in the mansion in poor shape somehow? I'm curious what Arcwade meant when she said that the water here is bad, so I try asking about it. You're asking about the water? I can't say it's something I pay any real attention to. It's possible it has something to do with the river running through the garden. What do you think, Kohaku? There aren't any problems with it that I'm aware of at the moment either, but perhaps it could be related to the old aqueduct underground. It hasn't been maintained for a number of years now, and it's possible that on particularly rainy days, some amount of foul water could collect down there. Ugh. That's all, apparently. I wonder if Arcwade was talking about this aqueduct. Good point. Father was very reluctant to make any changes to the construction of the mansion, so something along those lines is possible. Well, this is as good an excuse as any. Once my agenda has cleared out a little, I'll hire a contractor to take a look. The subject of the aqueduct comes to an end, and we return to talking about nothing in particular again. The tea party winds up carrying on past 8 o'clock, though I had to excuse myself before then to go take a bath. Well, I guess Shiki better be careful when he sneaks out. Akiha's already kind of onto him. I will be off then. Good night, Shiki-sama. Right. Sleep well, Hisui. At night, I make my move. I turn off the lights and lie down in bed. There's less than an hour until my meeting with Arcwade. The park's south of the station. It's across the tracks from the business district, and it's the largest park in the city. It takes about half an hour to get there on foot from the Tono residence. Still, what's she after, really? I suppose she's still in the city for the same reason Senpai is. The vampire extermination isn't complete until the last of Lof's stragglers have been taken care of. But then again, this isn't what I'd expect from her. Senpai is one thing, but for Arcwade to go to these lengths? It seemed to me that Arcwade was only ever interested in defeating her enemy. I was expecting her to blow off dealing with the fallout, and yet she's still here. Whatever her intentions, at the end of the day, she's still helping to protect the city. That's so sly of her. How am I supposed to ignore her if she does that? She's an incredibly dangerous creature, sure, but I can tell beyond a shadow of a doubt that she's not a bad person. Vampire or not, never before have I seen a woman with such a beautiful smile. With 10 o'clock approaching, the lights in the mansion go out. It's about time. I slip my knife into my pocket just in case and leave my room. What are you doing, Nissan? Then she becomes Vermilion Akiha. There's little sign of life in the park. The area south of the station is mostly taken up by office buildings, so there aren't any locals around to use the park, nor are there any young people stopping by after a night out. By the time the clock hits 10, it's all but empty. Alone in this deserted public space stands a conspicuous white shadow. Oh, you're here. Good evening, Shiki. You're right on time. And there's that smile of hers. I catch myself before I fall sway to its charms and glare pointedly at her. She's assaulted me in my room, and was this close to being spotted by Hisui. Tono Shiki barely has a say in what happens around the mansion as it is. Just how would she make up for it if my opinion were to be rendered utterly null and void? Hey, listen to this. A man and a woman were sitting on the bench over there not that long ago, and they were having a really weird conversation. Something about how one of their birthdays was coming up, and was there anything they want? Stop. Before you continue, there's something I have to say. Actually, no, I'm mad. I'm not going to talk to you unless you start actually feeling sorry about what you've done. Do you understand me? You're mad? Why? And just as I expected, you have no idea why. Well, not like it matters. Didn't expect any common sense coming from you in the first place. I'll just chalk this up to how vampires operate and move on. That said, I don't appreciate being dragged along for the ride, so consider this me giving you a firm rap on the knuckles, just as one would train a wild beast. Something about that phrasing annoys me. It's not like I've really done anything to bother you anyway. Is that all you have to say after sneaking into my room? Showing up somewhere without permission, letting yourself in through a second-floor window, and, the key point here, trespassing on someone else's house and grounds are all crimes out here in the human world. Good grief. Sure, nobody spotted you, and thank God for that, but would you have done it if they had? Even you're not dumb enough to try and solve something like that with brute force, right? Oh, come on, how rude. I would never do something that uncivilized. Besides, I'd never screw up so badly that I'd get spotted by humans. I made sure to smash the security cameras. Even if I did happen to bump into someone, I'd just knock them out for a bit. You destroyed the cameras? I can't believe you just said that like it's no big deal. That's exactly the sort of thing that constitutes brute force, you airhead. Airhead? What kind of person do you take me for? An airhead? I'm just calling an idiot. That's all there is to it, dumbass. If you have any objections, then let's hear them. I'm all ears. Huh? What? What's with you? All I did was come pay you a visit. I don't think I did anything that justifies getting so worked up. I can't believe she's maintaining her innocence even as new charges come to light. So this is what it feels like to be at a loss for words. Okay, you're right. Maybe I went a little overboard by breaking the cameras. Anyway, I get where I went wrong. I should have just come in through the front door like a human would, right? I'll be sure to do it that way next time. After all, I don't have that weakness of being unable to enter someone's house without first being invited. Hey, wait, where are you going, Shiki? I'm not done talking yet. Whoa, my legs just started making their own way home. Seems like what Arkway just said finally set some alarm bells ringing in my subconscious. Yeah, what she was proposing was actually much worse. Though, it's not like I'd actually be able to give her the slip, so I trudge back over to where she's standing. My bad. As I was thinking, my legs took on a life of their own. Also, if you ever come traipsing in through the front door, we're through. I'm not screwing around here. If you try it, you'd better be ready for me to hate you. I can't use the front door either? Then what am I supposed to do? Are you saying I should just stay away? Of course not, idiot! It was all just so sudden, so it would be fine if you just went through the proper procedures first. You stick out like a sore thumb anywhere you go, so you need to make sure to at least act like a proper lady. I'd feel even comfortable with her visiting the Tono mansion whenever she feels like it, so long as I invite her in first, introduce her to Akiha, and we get a couple of practice runs under our belt before letting her loose. I was thinking of conveying these nuances to Arkwade, but she glares at me with a sullen scowl on her face, like an indignant cat. Where do you get off yelling at me like that? Also, what do you mean I stick out like a sore thumb? My outward appearance is no different to that of a human being, right? Listen here, a beauty like you will stand out no matter what. It has nothing to do with whether you're a human or not. I answer her clearly. And then she turns into a cat. Perhaps because my reply left little room for debate, Arkwade seems to have accepted it without a fuss. Well, I guess I went a bit too far as well. Point is, please give it a rest with all the crazy stuff from now on, or I might have a heart attack. Okay, I got it. I'd hate for you to have a heart attack, so I'll do my best to act a little more ladylike. Arkwade nods, a demure expression adorning her features. Well, would you look at that? She actually will listen if you give her a stern warning. Actually, given the way she's sheepishly hunching her shoulders, it's almost as if Arkwade's acting like an ordinary human girl. Anyway, I'll get right to the point. Why did you show up at my house, Arkwade? It's not like you need me for anything anymore, right? Why? To search for vampires, duh. You said you'd help me, didn't you, Shiki? I figured that might be it. The sire has been defeated, but his minions remain, right? But what's with the change of heart? Wasn't Vlav your only enemy? Huh? Vlav wasn't my enemy, though. I was looking for a different vampire that lurked in the city. Vlav was totally unrelated. Huh? Vlav was unrelated? Back up a sec. Just what do you mean by that? I mean exactly what I said. Jeez, you seem so quick-witted at times, but dull and inattentive at others. Are you listening? Sure, Vlav might have been a vampire, but did he suck people's blood? Well, of course he did. That guy systematically burned all those people to a crisp and then... Oh. That's right. Why didn't I spot such an obvious discrepancy? All of the victims of the serial killer were discovered without injuries to their bodies, outside of the fact that their blood was drained. But that's not what Vlav would do. That guy burned corpses to a crisp. It's true that he did suck blood, but that wasn't the main way he killed people. In fact, the people who died at the hotel are currently being treated as casualties of a conflagration, not victims in a murder case. Which means that Vlav has no connection to the serial killings that have been happening in the city. Hold on, then who is behind the vampire killings? Who on earth would go out of their way to do that? Like I'm saying, the killings are the doing of another vampire, not Vlav. The dead apostle who was hiding in this city is named Roa. He's the type of vampire who slowly eats away at cities over the course of many years. His defining trait is reincarnation. Once he's finished corrupting a city, he'll end his life and move on to prey on the next one. There's an unmistakable note of disgust in Arquade's voice. I feel a brief shiver run down my spine. The intensity in her voice must just be too much for me to take. Reincarnation? As in dying and being reborn? That reincarnation? I think the proper name for it is samsara, or something like that. It's a Buddhist concept in which states that when you die, you're simply reborn into your next life. The soul itself is eternal. Precisely. Even if he's killed, he just gets born again into his next life. It's a variant of immortality that makes use of humans. Because reincarnation isn't a part of the Holy Church's dogma, they just pretend as though he doesn't exist. The same Roa is who I came to the city to kill. As for why Vlav came here, well, I'm no longer entirely sure. I thought he was an ancestor who came after me chasing glory, but he couldn't think all that rationally, nor did he seem particularly well aligned with Dead Apostles Society either. Well, enough of that. Vlav is already dead after all. Well, and so is Roa too, but for some reason you're acting like he's still alive. I'm wondering what Arquade is trying to get out of this. Vlav and Roa are two different beings. Vlav genuinely had nothing to do with the people of this city being turned into dead apostles. I never said that Vlav was my target, did I? He may have considered me his target, but I was never after him. My target was always the vampire behind the serial killer incidents in this city. Shiki, I hate to ask, but did you really misunderstand something so incredibly simple? Yeah, I totally misunderstood. I somewhat awkwardly break eye contact with Arquade. Because she said that killing vampires was her objective, I immediately jumped to what seems to have been the wrong conclusion. So then, you're telling me that killing Vlav that night was completely meaningless? It wasn't meaningless at all. It's a fact that Vlav posed a serious threat to you humans, and besides, you were the one who fought in my place, right? So don't look like that. Have more confidence in yourself. You looked so beautiful back then. It was the first time I'd ever watched something so riveting. Though, that just made it all the more annoying to have her skulking about in the background. Talk about an eyesore. Damn, she actually moved me a bit there. To think Arquade of all people would be so supportive. Still, she's right. What we accomplished wasn't in vain. It doesn't matter who Vlav was. He was a living disaster who had to be defeated. Even if I'm someone who can't do anything other than kill things, I can at least say with certainty that I helped to achieve that goal. Wait, hold on a second. Doesn't that mean that we're back to square one with regard to the vampire killings? I mean, this Roa guy is still alive. Nope, he won't be an issue. That danger has passed, so you can rest easy. Only thing we have to deal with from here on out is the cleanup. Oh, so she is admitting to killing him. Cleanup? You mean... I think I can guess what's coming, but... Yep, I already took care of Roa himself a while ago. Remember what I said? It's all thanks to you. Since I didn't end up having to use any of my power against Vlav, I had enough left to go hunt Roa down and take him out ahead of schedule. What? Arquade nonchalantly reports the end of the serial killings. That's, well, I guess I should say thanks as someone who lives here. A feeling of foreboding crawls up my spine, and my heart throbs violently. Still, even with Roa dead, his underlings are still active. I told you about this before, right? How sires and underlings are connected? The dead apostles have probably all gone back to being mere cadavers, but it seems a couple of his underlings climbed far enough in the ranks to become dead apostles in their own right, and are still hanging around. So with that said, Shiki, Arquade calls my name in a wheedling tone. I can see where this is going. I hate that I can see where this is going. Basically, the reason Arquade called me out here is because I ended up using a bunch of my strength to defeat Roa, so I'm a little worn out. Oh, if only there was someone out there who'd come to my aid and help me take care of these dead apostles. What? Just as I suspected. I do appreciate what Arkwade is doing. The vampires still in the city can't just be left to their own devices. Still, that doesn't mean I can agree to help her that readily. I think back on the fight against Vlav. The fear I felt back then while skirting the precipice of death is so burned into my mind that simply thinking back on it sends a shiver down my spine. I've returned to my normal life. I'm not going to get involved with vampires again. I even promised Senpai I wouldn't. No dice, huh? Well, I wasn't going to bring it up, but... Please defeat Vlav for me. Just who was it that said those words, I wonder? She's got me there. Arkwade might have flipped out when she spotted Ciel Senpai, but at the end of the day, she still helped us. If she hadn't been there to protect us against the billowing cold, I'm not the only one who'd have ended up encased in ice. The whole city would have been frozen solid. Which means, now it's time for me to hold up my end of the bargain. Alright, I'll help you out. That's what you want, right? Why not? I fully endorse getting rid of the vampires anyway. I don't like how scary it sounds, but I'll bear with it and cooperate. Yeah, now you're talking. I'm counting on you, Shiki. Let's fight together. Arkwade is positively beaming. She's counting on me? I'm pretty sure she'd be totally fine on her own. Still, hearing her say that certainly does make it feel like something worth doing. I feel like there was another meaning to the word vampire. Maybe that a vamp can also refer to a temptress that seduces men. I'd say that definition suits her to a T, even if she hadn't brought up our promise. I could never have refused the way she smiled at me. Now that Roa's underlings have lost their sire, they're going to react in one of two ways. Some of them will think that they're in danger and hold themselves up in their nests. Others will take advantage of being released from their master's yoke to prowl the night at their leisure. Tonight we'll set our sights on the first group, the ones who have hidden themselves away. After saying this, Arkwade starts leading me toward the residential district. Based on what I've heard so far, I'd assume that the vampires taking advantage of their newfound freedom would be the most dangerous. However, that means the executors, that Ciel Senpai and the others will take care of them even if we don't do anything. The dead apostles that pose the biggest threat are the ones who start running wild the minute they become free. But since those people are in this city, they ferreted that lot out yesterday and hunted them all down. The next most dangerous are the ones that group up and lie dormant in their dens. That's because they've at least got the intelligence to realize that there's safety in numbers, now that an enemy powerful enough to defeat their sire has shown up. After that comes the group that's as dangerous as they are difficult to deal with. The ones who split from the pack the minute they're free and patiently hide within the city. Any of them with enough adaptability and cunning to do that are rank 4 at the very least, and might even be able to start a whole new faction if given enough time. A new faction? You mean like the one in that underground chamber? Underground chamber? Oh, right, that one. Yeah, it wouldn't be on the same scale as Roa's community, but they could probably claim one new victim a month without anyone cottoning on. However, if they try something like that with executors around, they'll be discovered and taken care of in short order. That's why higher ranked dead apostles try and stay out of the spotlight whenever they're in town. On one hand, it's convenient to have the executors hunting down dead apostles, but on the other, they can make life difficult by putting them all on high alert. I see. For vampires, executors are like the police. Just having them around is enough to crack down on spontaneous assaults, as well as put a serious dent in the rates of premeditated crime. However, that's nothing more than deterrence. In order to locate the criminals, vampires in this case, slow and steady effort is required. Then, does that mean the place we're headed right now is one of these vampire hideouts? Yeah, I don't have direct confirmation yet, but with you around, we can make sure. Anyway, Shiki, you're not going to ask where Roa's coffin was? Huh? Arkwade says something strange. I wasn't planning on it. It doesn't matter much to me now that I know he's been taken care of. And it's not like it was any of my business anyway. Oh, I see. And here I was hoping I'd be able to surprise you by revealing it was underneath your school. Arkwade pouts, seemingly disappointed. Wait a second, that is surprising. You're saying the vampire boss had his hideout under my school? Yeah, it was hidden fairly cleverly, but I was able to find it thanks to my, meticulous and detailed investigation? What's with all the question marks? That's gotta be the most suspicious explanation I've ever heard. Still, underneath the school, Arkwade may have taken care of it already, but I still can't help feeling a little uneasy. Shiki, what's wrong? You're scowling. It's just, if the vampire boss was hiding out right under our school, then there's a chance that some of the students may have fallen victim to it. I'd be surprised. The coffin where a vampire sleeps is the last place they'll be able to hide if things head south, so they aren't about to feed anywhere too close to it. If they're sloppy and leave even a faint whiff of blood lying around, it'd just lead executors right to them, wouldn't it? I see. Kinda like how you wouldn't cause a scene right in front of your own house. Yep, exactly. No crimes ever occur right on the culprit's doorstep. It's a way of covering things up that's just as useful for humans as it is for dead apostles. That makes sense. Arcade takes the lead, her steps light. She sure is carefree for someone on their way to a vampire hideout. I'm not sure how I feel. I'm nervous, but not exactly scared. I wonder if that's because I think it'll be a cakewalk compared to the battle against Vlav, or if I've just gotten a bit braver recently. Whatever the reason, I'm glad to not be shaking in fear. Achoo! Huh? I look up as Arcade suddenly sneezes. I'm about to comment that even vampires feel the cold, but then remember the battle against Vlav. So yeah, pretty obvious they do. She may be a lot sturdier than humans are, but if you cut her, she still bleeds, and she definitely feels pain. I've seen plenty of evidence for that. I guess that miniskirt's to blame, huh? If you're cold, here, want to borrow this? I take off my jacket and offer it to Arcade. Really? Yay, I'll just borrow it for a bit then. Arcade puts on my jacket and twirls around, almost dancing as she continues to lead on. Arcade sure is raring to go for someone who was sneezing a second ago. She's like a bundle of energy, or a beautiful flower. Anyway, idly gazing at her is proving dangerously intoxicating. If I'm not careful, I might even fall for her. What is going on? Am I really the kind of guy that falls in love that easily? I shake my head, tearing my eyes away from her. We come out through the underpass, arriving at a deserted residential district. The vampire nest Arcade was talking about is now right around the corner. We've arrived at an apartment complex located square in the heart of this residential area. An utterly unremarkable 4-story building, nothing unusual about it. Every floor has around 4 units, most of which have the lights on. Is it really in this apartment complex? Yeah, that's what I'd like you to confirm. Shiki, take off your glasses and have a good look at the area around the building. Take off my glasses? Why? Because that's how we'll know for sure. I can sense the presence of human and non-human beings. You can visually perceive the difference between the living and the dead. It's not like we have many other ways of finding them, right? This also serves as a test run for tomorrow. Since we're going to be working together, that means you'll be watching the city with those eyes of yours. I understand what Arcade is getting at. I was the one that said we should cooperate, so it's not like I can refuse. In the 7 years since I received these glasses, I haven't walked around town without them even once. I mean, just seeing things with my glasses off is enough to give me a headache. It's easy to imagine what would happen to me if I were to look at the city or passers-by without them. But that's not something I can say after the past 2 days. I have experienced hell, if only once. For as long as the horrors I witnessed underground remain etched into my brain, enduring a headache or two is nothing in comparison. Alright, I'll take them off. It's a small price to pay if it'll put an end to this. The lines come into view. The stress it puts on my brain makes me want to throw up. This place is strange. The lines running along the building don't look any different than usual, but there's something oddly chilling about them. Perhaps it's the brilliant white of the light leaking from the rooms, or maybe it's the woman just returning to the apartment, on whose body the lines of death draw a dense, whirling maelstrom. I see. So I was right about this one, huh? Rather than heading for the entrance to the complex, Arcade sets off down the slope leading to the underground garage. A shutter has been lowered over the entrance. A barrier has been erected over the shutter that both wards off people and masks the scent of the dead inside. Though, with Roa gone, it too is fading. Arcade stoops down and puts her hands on the edge of the shutter. I thought she would pull it off in one go, but... Shiki, can you cut this shutter? I mean, I can, but are you sure? Yeah, you're better suited to this task than I am. If I were to open it by force, I'd set off the alarm, wouldn't I? She does have a point. Now that the time has come to act, Arcade is totally level-headed. I sever the lines on the shutter. With a crashing sound, the iron door falls onto the concrete floor. I peer through the hole cut in the shutter into the inky blackness beyond. What the hell is this smell? The odor is repulsive. The smell of rotting flesh pervades the inside of the garage, and the air is heavy with the scent of blood. Oh, Jesus. A group forms, each member a squirming mass of lines. They must have noticed that they had visitors as soon as I cut through the shutter. There are 4, no, 5 figures. There are 5 of them. Actually, we've got a bigger problem here. We've been spotted, and they look like they're spoiling for a fight. She could probably take care of them fairly easily with, her power fully restored. Arcwade! When I turn around, the white figure that had been there a moment ago is nowhere to be seen. Arcwade vanished while I was busy cutting the shutter. Without realizing it, I've wandered straight into the inescapable jaws of death. I can't retreat at all. I can't even turn to look back. The instant I take my gaze off them, I'll be reduced to an unsightly sacrifice. Crimson ruptures my vision. A broken mirror, the scattered pieces of a puzzle. The writhing lines of death pass through my eyeballs and carve themselves into my brain. There's nothing I can do, because I wasn't afraid. I came in here without coming up with a plan first. I'm dead. I'm going to die here. The claws of those half-rotted corpses will scramble the contents of my skull into a sticky mess. There's nothing I can do. My sense of reason, which had grown conceited after making it out of a predicament once before, gives up on being Tonoshiki. With it gone, all that remains is my bare self, finally released from the threadbare patchwork of humanity it had cobbled together. My body moves before my mind has a chance to catch up. I don't even so much as hesitate as I dismantle them. I recall the warm smell of blood, the feeling of slicing through her untouched flesh. I thought Arcwade was going to step in and save him, but I guess not. As I cut them down, my mind conjures images of that scene I had tried so hard to forget, looping through as though savoring them. I start to breathe again. A splitting headache dispels my dizziness. 1 minute has passed, and the limbs of 5 bodies now lie strewn around me like garbage. I was watching. You're amazing when you get serious, Shiki. Arcwade? I turn around, my eyes still clouded by the headache and a slight fever. All of a sudden, Arcwade is back, walking amidst the sea of blood. The scattered flesh crumbles into ash and is swept away by the wind. Only the oily bloodstains remain. But don't go pushing yourself. Come on, hurry up and put those glasses back on. You'll black out otherwise, won't you? Oh, yeah, you're right. Thanks. I do as I'm told and put on my glasses, then slip my knife back into my pocket. I'm still feeling more and more nauseous from the smell of blood, but at least my headache disappears the second I put on my glasses. Phew, I thought I was a goner. Wait, hold on. This isn't what we discussed, Arcwade. What did you go running off for? Why? This is what cooperation is all about, isn't it? Or what? Were you intending to lead the fighting to me while you sat back doing nothing? No, that's true, but I can't argue with an airtight case like that. To get involved with vampires is to steep oneself in mortal danger. If I forget about that for even a second, then I've no one to blame but myself. True enough, I was out of it, that much I'll admit. Still, couldn't you at least have given me a heads up? Or what, did you feel like being mean today or something? Yeah, it's true I did enjoy it. After all, I had to see for myself just how amazing your mystic eyes really are. So that's what you meant by a test run. Alright, so how'd I do then, Your Majesty? Oh, full marks. Your mystic eyes are out of this world. I can scarcely express with words just how rare and valuable they are. Well, that's great. I'm honored to have lived up to your expectations. I let out a sigh in reply. Even though her praise is honest, it doesn't cheer me up at all. Being complimented on my murderous talents feels the same as being told that I'm an awful person. Still, you yourself are as much a mystery as those eyes are. You were ready to turn tail and run right up until the moment you took out your knife. But once you decided to kill, you dismembered those dead without a second thought. You almost resemble me in that regard, yet despite that, you're more human than most humans are. I'm not sure what to make of that. What emotions were in those words, I do not know. Affection, adoration, or perhaps there was even a hint of love and tenderness in them. But they come so utterly out of the blue that I'm unable to respond. Hey, once we're done cleaning up after Roa, why don't you come with me? I don't really understand why, but I've come to hate the idea of going back on my own. Arquette has put a bit of distance between us and speaks those words while looking back at me over her shoulder. Don't be ridiculous. Where would we even go? Don't say something crazy like your homeland or whatever. Not realizing how earnest her question was, I respond with banter. What's with that grimace? I'm a princess, remember? Wouldn't you like to marry into money? I refuse. Who'd want to marry into such an explosive situation, moron? I get the feeling I just got super insulted. After I somehow managed to pacify Arquette's petulant grumbling, I take another look around at the underground parking lot. It doesn't seem like there are any other vampires here. It's possible that if this Roa person had still been alive and well, the entire apartment complex would have swarmed us. But instead, it seems like that was all of them. Yeah, it seems like the scene plays out differently if Roa is gone. You know, because there definitely was more in the Arquette route. The other residents must have been those rank 1 and 2 dead that Senpai was talking about. Lower ranked dead apostles that go back to just being corpses without a sire. Doesn't look like there's anyone else around. Let's get out of here, Arquette. The scent of blood is honestly starting to get to me. I call out to Arquette and leave the garage. With this, the seal has been broken. Light from outside can finally illuminate the darkness of the dead for the first time in who knows how many years. Once outside, I fill my lungs with fresh air. Though this job is over with, I don't feel much of a sense of accomplishment. I mean, it's not like the hunt for Roa's remaining offspring is over, and more importantly, what are we supposed to do about this apartment complex? What next, Arquette? It doesn't seem like there are any more vampires here, but this is still one of their nests, right? There might be more of them hiding inside, so should we investigate just to be on the safe side? Next, I make sure there are no loose ends, of course. Can you take a step back for a second, Shiki? Oh, what the hell? Arquette turns back to the apartment complex and then raises her left hand in the air. As soon as she does... Whoa, what the fuck? What? She just demolished that whole building. I hear the sound of something being crushed, and the entire apartment complex collapses in the blink of an eye. It was like a cake being flattened from above by some invisible implement. How's that? I may not have as rare a talent as you, but I'm pretty amazing regardless, right? Arquette smiles proudly. I know. You see me in a new light now, right? Or rather, did I surprise you? I see. You really are a moron! I grab Arquette's hand and start running. At this point, her powers no longer surprise me. I mean, they were ludicrous enough to protect the entire city from Vlov's billowing cold. But I really wish she'd do something about her complete lack of common sense. Why are we running? The danger has passed, you know? You realize people are gonna come looking if you make a racket like that, right? Stop and think for once, airhead. Huh, yeah, you're right. Dear me, what an honest mistake. Unbelievable. You knew damn well what you were doing. She is just so needlessly hard to deal with. We run upstream against the crowds of people coming to see what all the fuss is about, back in the direction of that deserted park. The building isn't flattened by heavy machinery or explosives, but a controlled natural phenomenon, the slight adjustment of the Earth's rotation. She listens with equal parts astonishment and animosity as the modern way of life, built from the fruits of civilization by human society, comes crashing down. A nun's habit flutters in the wind. The executor witnesses the event from her perch 20 meters in the air. Her mission was to take care of the dead apostles running rampant throughout the city, but she has already completed it. She hunted down every last rank 4 dead apostle last night. All that remained was to locate the sire's coffin, as well as to uncover and annihilate the feeding ground that she saw reduced to rubble a moment ago. To think she'd use her fantasy manifestation so liberally. What in the world has gotten into that vampire? She mutters in annoyance. Though the executor had been observing Arquaid Brunstad silently up to this point, she is finally unable to endure it any longer and gives vent to her emotions. Not to mention him as well. Is he being blackmailed into this or something? Her gaze falls upon the boy running with Arquaid in tow. As she watches, she grows more and more annoyed. The executor does not know if it's because of her hatred of the vampire, or out of the displeasure at seeing those two together. After watching the pair run off in the direction of the park, the executor turns back toward the collapsed apartment complex. Residents from the surrounding neighborhood have started to crowd around, attracted by the sounds of the commotion. A few police cars are headed this way, cruising down the thoroughfare that connects to the station plaza. It appears we have yet another case destined to remain unsolved. I presume you will take care of the cleanup here, acting presbyter? Without turning around, the executor addresses the darkness behind her. What the fuck? If you notice me, then say so, damn it. I was sat here trying to find a good moment to call out to you. The faint noise of the wind brushes across the scene. The owner of this voice is straddling across the sky, at the same height as the executor's dizzying perch. However, there is nothing but air beneath his feet. Behind the executor stands Mario Gallo Bastino, acting presbyter at the tender age of 12, seemingly floating in midair. I've heard about you from Noel-sensei. I doubt we need to bother with any introductions. Yes, so. Look through your files enough that I'm fucking sick of them. Ain't much I got to ask at this point. So, about cleaning up here, my incompetent subordinates are just about to run in there and patch things up, so you can go ahead and fuck off. Ain't gonna be no need for you to go suggesting anything to each and every rubbernecker down there. Looking down, she can see a blacked out civilian car pulling in behind the police cars that have just arrived on the scene. The people inside are police inspectors from a jurisdiction that's under Mario's thumb. They'll be quick to ensure that this inexplicable phenomenon gets filed away as nothing more than an accident. Splendid. That will save me some hassle. Still, is that fine with you? I heard from Noel-sensei that you questioned her quite harshly. Huh. So you telling me a burial agency dog is bowing to authority? Thought you fuckers weren't supposed to make a peep even if someone killed you. Whatever. I ain't got time to waste torture in a wet blanket. I'll turn a blind eye to your independent activity. Or what, you want to turn yourself in or something? I wouldn't mind. I hold the acting presbyter's words in high esteem. So long as they come through official channels. That is. Mario doesn't answer. He simply curls his lips in amusement. You catch on fast. Makes things easy. Guess I should have expected as much from an old warhorse like you, eh, Executor? That said, I ain't gonna be exchanging information with you. Or what, you feeling like putting yourself in my debt? That won't be necessary. I have my own duties to attend to. Be sure that you tend to yours, Mario. Wow, and here I thought we were gonna be fighting to the death right about now. Ain't it your MO to take people out before they become an obstacle? Thought you'd find an arch-presbyter's errand boy like me to be a real pain in the ass. The boy's voice is both hostile and provocative. The executor doesn't even have to turn to look at him, and his words fall flat against her back. I suppose so. Had it been any other acting presbyter, perhaps I would have. However, you are an exception. Or rather, anyone associated with Laurentis is worthy of respect. You're not someone who would hastily pursue short-term gains, correct? Huh? The fuck you mean worthy of respect? Didn't have you pegged as the type to brown nose. You wake up one day with a newfound love of money or something? Gotta admit though, the one reward you can always respect is some cold hard cash. You may look like your brother, but you're really his polar opposite, aren't you? I'm disappointed beyond belief. Huh? Park your fat ass right there. Fuck do you know about my shitty brother? God, the stuff this guy says, like... I'm acquainted with him. We were on the same mission once, you see. He was prone to being misunderstood by those around him on account of being Cardinal Laurentis' son, but he was a person worthy of respect. He left me with a message. If you ever happen to meet my younger brother, please go easy on him. He's a bit grouchy, but at heart, he's still just a naive boy who believes in justice. Fuck's sake, that guy's a disgrace.
He can fucking die. That shitty excuse for a brother can fuck off and die for all I care. Fuck's he doing trying to hit on some disposable bitch? Think about Laurentis' reputation for a second. Indeed. That is the one thing I can trust about you people. You'll always defend your father's honor. It's the only reason you do anything. So don't you think you've got something more important than apprehending me to be getting on with? The fuck are you on about? Defending our father's honor? Did my shitty brother really spout off some garbage like that? No, not even once. He wasn't particularly talkative, you see. I just felt that was the case after spending some time together with him. God, this is why I hate brats around the age of 20. They're so fucking hard to deal with when they're all hopped up on their half-baked ideals. This was all a long time ago. 6 years, in fact. He must be serving as one of your father's aides by now, no? It feels safe to assume that a man like him would turn out well. The boy watches the executor reminisce about the past with a cold look in his eye. The acting presbyter briefly grinds his teeth together in frustration, and then... Whatever, I'm over it. I'm not gonna sit here and haggle with you any longer. You can go buck wild out there for all I care. You're after Roa, yeah? Same here, but all I care about is the guy's workshop. Got no problem leaving the vampire himself to you. With a whirring sound, he begins to distance himself from the executor. The provocative air he'd given off a moment ago has vanished. Something about the executor appears to have struck a chord. Halt, acting presbyter. There's one matter I'd like for you to take care of. Consider it my condition for allowing you to escape from here alive. Huh? Mario's fingers stop. Just as he's about to turn around and spit out some pithy retort, he realizes that her words are no idle threat. Only one of the strings keeping the boy afloat in the sky still remains. Mere seconds ago, a web of over 700 spirit strings had surrounded the executor. Every single thread bar one was just silently reduced to ash. I didn't hear any magecraft incantation. You fucking burn them all up just by pouring magical energy through your fingertips? You're a real goddamn dynamo. Just how many hundreds of mages worth of energy can you generate? You've always been a monster, haven't you, Executor Ciel? Well, guess there's no way you'd be able to hold on to 2 or 3 idea bloods if you weren't. Enough talk, or should I burn the last string too? Whoa, stop! Falling to my death wouldn't even be a funny way to go. Ah, shit. It's already on fire. As fucking merciless as ever, ain't you? Alright, fine. You got me. I'll listen to what you gotta say. Spill it. It concerns the handling of my colleague. You have already met with her. As such, I believe you'll understand what I am suggesting. The executor's tone is ice cold. All she says is a statement of fact, her voice utterly flat and emotionless. She may not have put it into words, but the implication is clear. Executor Noelle has hit her limit. She is over capacity, both mentally and physically. Alright, I hear you. Staff relocation is part of my job. I can pick this up if you're fine with me handling it off hours. Still, you sure about this? Leaving her to me means giving me free rein to work her to the bone, yeah? I do not mind. If possible, I'd like the paperwork submitted within a few days. Also, she's had her blood sucked by Vlav Archangel. It's unlikely to have been enough to pose a problem, but just in case, I'd like you to use your authority to conduct an infection test. Just in case, huh? Well, placebo effect's a thing after all. Even I can tell she's pretty much about to fall apart. Might as well conduct a full medical examination. Hell, I'll be happy to if it gets you off my fucking back. The negotiations are complete. This time, the boy successfully withdraws from his position 20 meters in the air. Only one figure remains, her nun's habit fluttering in the wind. She looks back once again at the side of the collapse below her and lets out a small sigh. I make it back to the park exhausted and out of breath. We're fortunate that nobody questioned us along the way. I finally let my legs stumble to a halt, allowing my body the rest it's so desperately crying out for. Her Majesty, meanwhile. Sorry. I didn't stop and think about the strain this might put on your body. Is exhibiting some uncharacteristically reflective behavior. Maybe I've started to go a bit soft too. Regardless of the reason, I just can't stand to see her make that kind of face.
It's fine. At the end of the day, we didn't get caught. Somehow. I shouldn't have snapped at you like that either. It's not like you being a screwball should come as a surprise to me at this point, so just forget what I said before. Damn.
Really? You're not mad? Well, I'm happy if you are.
Yeah, I'm not mad, honest. But it's true that you took things too far. The next time you decide to cause a scene, please give me a heads up first.
Sure, you got it. We make an incomparably strong team after all.
What the? Smug? Her eyes say smug. That's pretty interesting. I don't think I've seen that sprite before. I'm a little worried just which definition of strong she's going for here. Ugh. I must have let my guard down after we stopped for a breather, because for a split second, I feel like I'm about to black out. It's as though I'm watching the contents of my own skull sloshing around and spilling out, and I come this close to collapsing to my knees.
Shiki!
Arquette starts rushing over to me, but I hold out a hand to reassure her that I'm fine. Seems I'm a bit tired. I'll be alright after I have a rest on the bench. I ease myself onto the bench and catch my breath. Arquette must be worried about me or something, as she starts lecturing me about my eyes.
I see. You look too hard at the lines of death. Shiki, how much do you understand about your eyes?
It's as if she's really a teacher or something. According to Arquette, my eyes aren't seeing death so much as deciphering it. The lines are apparently only the afterimage of death, and it's the points that the lines begin and end at that are actually death itself. The degree of perception required to see them is far beyond what humans are capable of. As such, if I overuse my eyes, my brain is going to burn out long before my eyes do, meaning I shouldn't look at the lines too much. Why are you saying this? You're the one putting me to work here. I smile wryly at how self-serving Arquette can be. Her telling me to help her out is basically the same as ordering me to use my mystic eyes. She's well aware of this, yet still tells me not to push myself too hard, a strange stance to take. Regardless, her explanation, half of which goes completely over my head, continues. Professor Arquette is quite the talker. I listen to her, occasionally chiming in so she knows I'm paying attention. In truth, I don't feel tired in the slightest anymore, but rather than bring our conversation to a close, I continue to gaze at the woman in white before me. It wasn't that long ago that she seemed so incredibly frail, but now she's bursting with life. She's positively radiant.
Hey, are you listening? You realize I'm telling you that you're in danger, right? You're not supposed to be smiling about that.
She's mad at me for real. Still, it's not like I'm smiling on purpose. It's just, how could I not smile after seeing her this lively? How come you're acting all high and mighty? You were in plenty of danger yourself back when you got hit by Vlav.
I mean, that was then and this is now. Or what, are you saying you preferred it when I was in pain?
Of course not. I don't want to see something like that ever again. Yeah, having you suffer would actually balance things out quite nicely though. That's the sort of thing I'd only ever say if forced to conform to society's expectations. If I were to speak my own feelings, truthfully, from the bottom of my heart, it makes me happy to see you so energetic. I think you're at your best when you're like that. And if I could make one wish, it would be that I could look upon that smile forever. What the hell's that about? Why is she charging right at me? Hey, stop, you big boar! I leap to my feet, but there's no way I can dodge her. Arquette rushes right over to where I'm standing in front of the bench and clamps both of my hands in hers.
Yeah, I feel the same way. We really are on the same wavelength, aren't we?
The innocence of her smile takes my breath away. In an attempt to reciprocate her trust in me, I open my mouth to speak. And yet, at this crucial moment, I'm assailed by a headache so powerful that it threatens to knock me unconscious. I cling to the bench and stop myself from completely collapsing to the ground. I take a few deep breaths and let the dizziness pass. Fortunately, the headache was just the one sudden twinge. I should be back on my feet again in no time. Sorry, seems like my body's still in rough shape.
I guess you were right. I must have really overused my mystic eyes.
Whoa. What's that expression about? Arcway doesn't say anything. She simply holds her breath for a moment, as if she'd witnessed something unbelievable, and then...
Is that so? That sounds just awful, Shiki.
She giggles softly before making her way back to the center of the plaza, her steps light. What was that about? She was all cheerful, and then all of a sudden she's just like, it's like a switch flipped or something. Like now she's like, oh, that's just too bad. And why was she looking like that? Something is going on with Arcwade, like especially, considering what happened in that scene where she killed Roa. There's something weird going on with her. Time passes. Arcwade isn't as chatty as she was before, but it's clear as day that she's in a good mood. So good, in fact, that I'm left scratching my head as to why. We're so engrossed in discussing what to do from here that midnight takes us completely by surprise.
Seems like it's a new day already. Let's call it here for tonight. I'll be counting on you again tomorrow, Shiki.
Well, yeah, this isn't something that can be taken care of in a single day. So meet back here, same time as we did today?
Yep, it'll be boring having to wait a whole day, but you've got your own life to worry about. I'm not going to butt into it.
Arcwade flashes me a nonchalant smile and leaps away from the park. She really does just show up and disappear at the drop of a hat. I can't just stand here being impressed. I'd better hurry on home as well. If I leave my room unoccupied for too long, I risk my excursion being discovered. I get the feeling that ship may have already sailed, but I'd still better hurry back to the mansion as fast as I can. What were you doing out so late, Nissan? It'd be funny if, like, Akiha was just standing there, like, waiting. Like she already knew. It's after midnight. There isn't a single light on inside the mansion. Instead of entering through the front door, I slip around to a rear entrance in the west wing and make my way inside. The mansion is very creepy at night. It's the same door I used when I left, and fortunately, it's still unlocked. I crept my way inside softly, careful not to wake Hisui or Kohaku-san, whose rooms are in the west wing. Phew. I take a deep breath and plop down onto the bed. I must be exhausted after all that walking, because I immediately collapse as though the bed itself is sucking me in. I made a promise with Arcwade. By some twist of fate, it seems I've once again gotten myself involved in some kind of mess. But what choice did I have? I couldn't just leave her on her own. Or maybe I didn't want to leave that miraculously beautiful yet inhuman being alone. I'm struck by a sharp but fleeting headache. What was that? It feels somehow different to the headaches I've had before. It wasn't painful so much as shameful. Like my own self was admonishing me for how foolish it was to think that she's beautiful. Slowly but surely, my eyelids begin to droop. I surrender myself to the enveloping hand of weariness and allow it to drag my body and consciousness down into the dark abyss of sleep. As I fall into that overpowering darkness, I attempt to reflect on just what part of my thoughts were foolish, but am cut short as my consciousness is dashed to pieces. Uh-oh. What's going on? I can't sleep. I must have too much on my mind. My brain is filled with a jumble of thoughts. Whenever I close my eyes, it's like they all suddenly come into focus. I just woke up, so I won't be able to go back to sleep again right away. I reluctantly heave myself out of bed. At a time like this, nothing beats a bit of reading. I put on a robe so that I don't catch a chill and start rummaging through my luggage. Unfortunately, I've already read all those books well enough to know them by heart. Oh well, I'm just trying to kill time here. I shouldn't be such a stickler about novelty. I pick up a well-thumbed book and head over to the conservatory. Quite cultured that there's a room dedicated to reading here in the mansion.
I sit down on a chair and start flipping through the pages of the book. Probably the same one he read last time, the one about immortality. The first emotion I felt was actually that of pity, not anger nor disappointment. Everything I laid eyes on just seemed so pitiful. Naturally, I myself was the most pitiful of all. Or maybe this is about Ciel's past, I don't know. He was born at the end of the 15th century. As a child of a wealthy family and the recipient of an expensive education, he grew up healthy, both in mind and body. He understood what it meant to be good, and would not countenance evil, no matter what form it took. The populace revered him as a prodigy, and took it for granted that he would dedicate himself to further improving their lands. However, he defied his parents' wish that he inherit their estate, aspiring instead to become a man of the cloth. At the time, the corruption within the church, the pursuit of worldly desires by its potentates, had already been festering for a while, but the true extent had yet to become widely known. His parents were disappointed, but still happily sent him off in accordance with his wishes. Perhaps they thought it possible that he would be the one to air out the stink of corruption that pervaded their country. Naturally, there was never any chance that the lone son of some noble family with no backers could change the world. He passed through many cities, came to know many people, personally observed the start of many things, yet always arrived at the same conclusion. Humans are wonderful. Among the many children the Lord had sown unto the earth, man was the most excellent. This weak, fragile, tiresome, hopeless animal was nevertheless the most beautiful in all creation. The Lord's design was revealed through human nature, their dogged inability to live without seeking purpose. He met with new people on a daily basis, people who lived in the city, people who had come to visit it, anyone he could find. To exchange words with strangers and learn how they lived their lives was his source of joy. There is a truth to be gleaned from each and every life. There was meaning to be found in even the most trivial, the most banal of lives. He strove to understand as many people as he could. His fellow students laughed at him. Isn't 10 people enough? His teachers scolded him. Keep it to no more than 100, will you? The presbyters preached to him. You should try to know tens of thousands. Only his one trusted friend predicted what was in store for him. That's a living hell you're bound for. That's hell you're walking into, boy. Just as his friend had said, by the time he had painstakingly recorded the lives of over 1,000 people, he'd hit a wall. Not because his will had broken from finding the act uninteresting or unrewarding. Rather, it was the complete opposite. He wanted to know even more people. 1,000 or 2,000 simply wasn't enough. He had to collect more and more truths. But it was never enough. Far from it. Even if he were to live to 60 and spend every single day talking to people, he still wouldn't even be able to speak to everyone in his city. That wasn't all. As he worked, more and more people kept being born. The world kept expanding. New possibilities continued to appear. Oh, how precious little time we humans have. In retrospect, he had never actually been happy as an individual. He had been spoken of as a prodigy, but the people around him had simply gotten the wrong idea. He was a man of thoroughly unremarkable talents. If his talents as a human were to be scored and tallied up, their sum would be no more impressive than those of any of his neighbors. It was simply that those talents were particularly focused in a certain direction. He was not interested in the essence of man so much as the essence of the world. In exchange for holding this interest towards the whole, he lacked the ability to love the individual. In exchange for his capacity for self-improvement, he lacked any ambitions of power. In exchange for his dreams toward the future, he lacked any sentiments about the present. The point being, he was very much inhuman. Yet in spite of that, he was a man of unparalleled virtue. He loved the purpose of mankind, loved the lives of good people, and held a faith more ardent than anyone else's. It was obviously impossible for him to single-handedly change the face of religion, but he should have been able to at least become a small part of that change. The prodigy who loved humanity but could not love people was undoubtedly a saint, at least until that moment came. I wonder if this could be like, what was that one character they keep referencing? Laurentis, like his backstory? It might be his backstory. This is the story of a child, one set before he began studying other people. Though he was still a child, his mind had already matured to the point where he could not write off the mysterious as something beyond his grasp. The boy who had already grasped the essence of society found little mysterious. Rain, clouds, even ghosts, all could be unraveled. It was those mysteries that still could not be explained by the current era that intrigued him. Things whose existence everyone else took for granted. It was those things that still captivated his childlike curiosity. Things such as the brilliance of the stars, so ignored by his young peers. That's why. I still remember it to this day. That one night I set out on a journey behind my father's back, and there, far above me, was something sublimely mysterious, a stone, aloft, gazing down on me. A white disk shone in the sky, partially obscured by clouds. What was it? What were its aims? Just what made it tick? Those were the feelings of anticipation, of curiosity, of fear, held towards something beyond one's grasp. All those were engraved in his heart as shining stars. This was the driving force that set everything in motion. Oh, how sinful it was, how foolish. It was then that he swore to the Heavenly Father that he would lay bare the theory that underpinned the universe. However, he would soon come to learn that the essence he had resolved to spend his life uncovering had already been deciphered by his predecessors. The House of God had already come into possession of vast quantities of information it wished to suppress. Mathematics, astronomy, geology, history, architecture, economics, medicine, agriculture, and finally, the alchemy that would later become chemistry. The House of God had collected all the cutting-edge theories and knowledge of his era under one roof, and locked them away. It was both the world's greatest academic institute and a graveyard of wisdom. Apes fashioned tools, man built civilization, scholars read the stars, devised observational methods, and before they had even attained the knowledge of how to soar through the sky themselves, had acquired the necessary wisdom to estimate the extent of the universe. What was the stone he had seen high above him that night? Even the answer to how the earth was governed had already been discovered. Nothing in creation broke this pattern. Everything mysterious had already had its general principles brought to light. There was an obscure philosopher who once wrote, "The next 1,000 years will be spent doing nothing more than proving these things we now know." The world continued to be explained. The universe continued to be given meaning. When he discovered that this was already being attempted, it was not joy that took hold of him. It was fear, together with an inexpressible anger. It was because I had given up that I could overlook this. But what is this? Just where does this end? If humanity goes on like this, the day will inevitably come when it becomes possible to know everything. So then why? Why does this body of mine have such precious little time? His human lifespan was pitiful in the face of the world's breadth. He was mortified by the thought that even though he had lived for the sake of knowing everything, he would die in obscurity, never knowing anything. As he sought to uncover the purpose of humanity, he was forced to realize that human life had no meaning. Anyone should be able to understand just how miserable of a conclusion that was for him. It was at this time that he first began to fear death. Death was frightening. The futility of life was frightening. The infinite expanse of the world was frightening. He had gained so much knowledge, and yet he did not know a single thing. But what terrified him was not his own demise. It was seeing his purpose fall apart. He needed to alter his thinking. There was still nothing eternal to be found on Earth. So if everything kept expanding and changing, then he simply had to wait for it to be complete. He strayed from the path that rose before him. He turned his back on the ladder reaching into heaven. What he wanted, what he had been searching for, was simple. He wanted to know everything, and in order to do so, he needed infinite time. It's quite ironic. The man who so feared the infinite expansion of humanity found his solution in the pursuit of infinite time. Well, breaking ties with us now wasn't a bad call. The rapid spread of the Gutenberg press poses an exponential threat, to say nothing of the Reformation. It's gonna get rough for a while, both for us at the church and for the association. Though I imagine it's going to hit the Mages Association harder than it'll hit us. All manner of superstitions will be wiped off the face of the earth by the spread of mass printing. I'm sure the foundations that underpin the arcane will groan loudly under the strain. Aha, so that's why you've chosen now to make your move. Both parties have their hands full dealing with their own problems. Even if some mad prodigy were to strike out for the true ancestor's castle, it'd be a while before they gave chase. You're a real opportunist, huh? Gonna take this chance to try and nab the eternity that's closest at hand, are you? Of course not. Vampires are merely hard to kill and slow to age. They're far from eternal. They will serve as nothing more than one of my stepping stones. For now, I will perform a clean suicide so as to die a human death. Aha, the man who seeks eternity rushes headlong toward his own demise. How ironic. So, Do you intend to leave the church tomorrow then? I will leave the burial classroom in your care. I have no aspirations of becoming a bishop. I burned through the entirety of my inheritance to make it this far. It was high time I made my decision. On one side, the son of some provincial magnate. On the other, a woman who had naught but the stigma she bears. Two comrades who failed to make it to the rank of bishop together, and who will no longer count on each other for comfort. The end. Well, whatever. So then, you're still planning on finishing your magecraft theory, I take it? I have no intention of leaving the church, so I can't go down the same path as you. Well, luckily for me, I'm a woman. I guess I'll pop some kids out so I can tell them all about you. I wish I knew who the hell was talking right now. There's no voice acting or anything, so I have no idea. And I don't even know who these characters are. I'm guessing one of them might be Laurentis? Oh, and what will you tell them, Narbarek? Narbarek? I guess something about how a new dead apostle is going to make his debut in a century or so. Make sure they understand that trying to fight him would be pointless, and they should just leave him alone. Oh, you won't have to wait a whole century. I suspect I'll become a target for Inquisition within your lifetime. This body will make for a fine bloodsucker. 10 years should prove plenty. Ha, stop spouting nonsense. You'll have to start over as one of the dead. It'd take even a once-in-a-decade genius like yourself a century at least. Their world is practically a living hell, the ruthlessness of which can't even begin to be compared to ours. If I were to do everything by the book, you'd be right. However, if I were to become a top-ranking bloodsucker on one day, the rules of their world wouldn't apply. I don't follow. What do you mean? Oh, it's quite simple. I'm sure you're aware that the power of a dead apostle is influenced by the true ancestor who drank their blood. Which means, if I'm aiming to become the greatest dead apostle, I simply have to get my blood sucked by the greatest true ancestor. So, Arquaid?